Chapter 33. The winter in Nanchuan was cold and humid, but Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui's mood was not affected at all. They were so excited that it was as if they were carrying a sun with them. The whole car was warm and cozy. The driver was Lu Hui's family's chauffeur. He drove a black car on the road, low-key and stable. He was an experienced driver and knew some martial arts. He had been working for Lu Hui's family for nearly 10 years. He could be considered to have watched Lu Hui grow up. Lu Haoyan sent him to be the chauffeur with the intention of protecting and supervising. After all, he was worried that something might happen to the two children outside. Along the way, Xiao Xiao kept refreshing his circle of friends. Lu Hui asked curiously, "Why do you like to look at your circle of friends so much now?" "Nothing, I'm just bored." It was indeed quite boring. Why didn't anyone like or reply to him? It would be good to send a message to ask where he was going. When Xiao Xiao refreshed his circle of friends for the 5th time, Lu Hui snatched his phone and said, "Stop looking. Since you're out to play, why don't you have a good chat with your brother?" Xiao Xiao thought about it and agreed. What was there to refresh? He hadn't seen Lu Hui for a long time. The two of them always had endless things to talk about. "My dad is great now. He comes home to eat every day. My mom even sends him food every day. He's so happy. I feel like they've found their second love." Lu Hui sighed and said, "What about you? How have you been?" "How can I be as good as you guys? I just suffered a big disaster a while ago, and almost lost my life." Xiao Xiao's face was bitter. "Why didn't you tell me about this? Do you still treat me as a good brother?" Lu Hui hooked Xiao Xiao's neck. "Isn't it because I don't want you to worry? At first, I didn't feel anything. I thought I met a nice girl. I didn't expect her to be in the same group as Maggie." "What did you say? She's in the same group as the girl last time? How did you know?" "I have to thank Yunran for this. She was the one who discovered the abnormality. I don't know what drug that woman gave me, but it made me seem like I was addicted to drugs. I almost died." Xiao Xiao shuddered at the thought of it. Lu Hui was, after all, slightly older, so he quickly figured out the crux of the matter. If that's the case, then there must be a boss behind her. Looks like we've offended an organization. Lu Hui was also a little worried. "It's all my fault for implicating you." Lu Hui was filled with regret. "What are you talking about? We're all buddies. Most importantly, these bad guys are everywhere. It's really impossible to guard against them. It's a good thing that we left home for a vacation. It seems like it was a wise decision." "I think so too. At this time, we still have to be afraid at home. Where are they going to find us if we come out?" The two young masters are right. Now that we're out, we shouldn't think about those troublesome things. Evil will never prevail over good. Wasn't the chairman acting strangely some time ago? You've been bewitched by that woman. In the end, you still think that home is the best. The driver wasn't too clear about what happened at that time. He only knew that the chairman had a woman outside and turned the house upside down. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui looked at each other and didn't continue this topic. Soon, the car smoothly drove out of Nanchuan City and onto the highway. This time, their destination was a suburban resort. The entire resort was built by a lake and had beautiful scenery. It was said that the ecological environment here was very good. During the summer, the figures of egrets could often be seen. Unfortunately, it was winter now. These birds that were afraid of the cold had all flown to the south, leaving only a bare mountain. It was said that this was originally an extinct volcano. It hadn't erupted for many years, so a far-sighted businessman developed this place into a hot spring resort. This resort was very unique. Hundreds of hot springs were dug out from the hot springs on the mountain. Moreover, small villas were built halfway up the mountain for rent. These villas were provided for guests who came for a vacation. Moreover, the facilities inside were very complete. All of them were built according to the standards of 5-star hotels. There were guest rooms, restaurants, and entertainment areas. The service here was also first class. The service staff were all trained according to the standards of Japanese-style hotels. Because it hadn't been open for long, not many people knew about this place. Lu Hui told Xiao Xiao everything he knew about the resort. Xiao Xiao listened with great interest. Even the driver was very happy and excitedly discussed with them. After driving for almost 2.5 hours, they were about to drive off the highway and enter the area where the resort was located. The driver saw the exit sign. At this time, they were on the leftmost expressway. The driver turned right and wanted to cross a few expressways to enter the rightmost fork. However, at this time, there were quite a lot of cars behind them. They kept honking and flashing lights to remind the driver not to change lanes. The driver had to slow down a little and slowly move to the right. He moved to the second last lane on the right with great difficulty. He sighed. There are so many cars today. Before he could finish the word, he heard a long honking sound from behind. The driver looked in the rearview mirror on the right and was shocked. A huge oil tanker was rushing towards them from behind at an incredible speed. The driver turned the steering wheel to the left, but at the same time, he heard a long honking sound from the left lane. The driver looked in the left mirror and saw a huge oil tanker speeding towards them. The two cars were on their left and right sides. It was as if they couldn't see the black car in the middle driving forward quickly. Moreover, the distance between the two was obviously close. Oh no, they're going to crush us. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui heard the driver scream and quickly turned to look. They were also shocked by what they saw. Soon the oil tanker on the right caught up first. It brushed past the car, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. The driver turned the steering wheel, but he still couldn't avoid the speed of his left lane. The right rearview mirror was knocked away with a bang. Lu Hui and Xiao Xiao clearly felt the car being hit and slanted. The driver had no choice but to give up the idea of getting off the highway and continue driving forward. He didn't dare to change lanes again. The car on the left didn't care if he needed to change lanes. Instead, it directly rammed into him from the side. There was a wolf on the left and a tiger on the right. The right rearview mirror was gone. The left rearview mirror was also knocked away. The car was in an S shape between the two oil tankers. Their car became a bumper car. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui were knocked around in the car. The driver could only think of a way to control the steering wheel and use all his strength to step on the brakes. However, the two oil tankers were too fast. They were already driving the car forward. Some of the wheels of the car were knocked off the ground and sparks flew out. The side of the car kept hitting the oil tankers and sparks flew out. Xiao Xiao looked at the big word explode on the oil tanker, and his scalp went numb. If the oil tanker exploded because of the accident, everyone and the surrounding cars would suffer. The driver in front shouted, "I can't hold on any longer. The car is in the air, and the brakes are not working." Lu Hui yelled, "Hold on. Hold on. You must hold on. Don't let go of the steering wheel. Don't let go." Right at this critical moment, Xiao Xiao suddenly unleashed all of the fiendish energy in her body, sinking her entire body down. The car seemed to be weighed by 1,000 pounds. It quickly sank to the ground. Because of the speed and weight, there was a loud sound of friction on the ground. Sparks had already splashed to the window. However, because the wheels found the ground, the brakes were activated again. The car finally slowed down in the angle between the two oil tankers. The two oil tankers quickly closed in and moved forward. When there was no space in the middle, they moved forward side by side. The tail of the second car gave the car a fatal blow. The huge swing of the tail had deformed the front of the car, and the hood of the car had been bounced up. When the cars behind saw such a fierce battle in front, they all stopped, giving the three cars in front a full display. When the car finally had a chance to breathe, the driver used the last of his strength to quickly turn the car to the right, and finally stopped by the side of the road. The driver quickly opened the door and shouted to Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui, "Get out of the car is going to explode." The three of them stumbled out of the car. They didn't even have time to grab their things, and quickly ran to the back of the highway. Just as they ran about 100 meters, a huge explosion sounded behind them. The huge wave set off by the explosion sent all three of them flying. At the same time, the huge wave also forced the surrounding cars to stop. Then there was a chain collision. The entire highway was a tragic scene. Xiao Xiao, Lu Hui, and the driver stood up with great difficulty. They looked back at the scene of the explosion with lingering fear. It was too scary. They had walked through the gates of hell this time. "Young masters, are you two okay?" Xiao Xiao looked at his tattered clothes and smiled bitterly. I'm okay, but my handsome image is ruined. Lu Hui was a little unluckier than Xiao Xiao. His arm was scratched. Old Wang, are you okay? How did that happen? I don't know. The two tankers suddenly rushed over from the left and right. I was not prepared at all. Also, I turned on the turn signal, but they didn't slow down. If it wasn't for the highway, I would have suspected that the two cars deliberately went against us. Lu Hui said, It can't be so coincidental, right? He and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. Xiao Xiao also shook his head. I don't think it can be so coincidental. We made a last-minute decision. They couldn't leave now. They could only stay at the scene and wait for the police to come and ask questions. Several police cars looked at the surveillance and heard the news. When they saw the chain collision on the highway, they had a headache. The only fortunate thing this time was that there were no casualties. Xiao Xiao cursed in her heart. She hadn't cultivated enough devil qi. Otherwise, she would have pushed the tanker to the side a long time ago. If Yanran was here, she wouldn't be in such a sorry state. Thinking of Yanran, he took out his mobile phone and checked his WeChat moments. There were no new posts, no likes and no comments. Chapter 34. A plane soared into the sky. Yanran was on her way to Nanjiang. That woman finally told her where their base was. It took 5 hours to fly from Nanchuan to Nanjiang. Yanran was busy for 5 hours on the plane. She pulled out silk from cocoons from all kinds of information, gradually revealing the full picture of this criminal gang. Yanran drew a tree diagram. At the top was their charm lord. Below it were the characteristics of each character, the people they had come in contact with, and a simple summary of the crime. According to the subordinates, the charm lord was about 40 years old. She had good looks and special abilities. She cultivated all kinds of goo worms at home. Not every subordinate had been here before, but every subordinate knew the glorious deeds of the charm lord like the back of their minds. After being brainwashed, the charm lord's various abilities had become a godlike existence in their hearts. The charm lord was very powerful, so every aspect of her was legendary in the entire organization. This was a great help to Yanran in her investigation of this criminal gang. Yanran guessed that she might have been hurt by love. The goo arts passed down from her ancestors gave her the courage to do evil. Moreover, this kind of goo arts was very secretive. The way she committed the crime was very secretive, and would not be easily detected by the police. From this, she deduced that the charm lord was not a criminal who would openly commit murder and robbery. She would only do small things secretly to prevent the police from targeting her. The goo poison was very secretive. If it was not for the fact that cultivators like them had found traces of it, coupled with her grandfather's vast knowledge, they would not have thought of such a harmful thing. The world was big and full of strange things. Yanran rubbed her furrowed brows. She was exhausted after staying up all night for so many days. At this time, her eyes were bloodshot. However, her eyes were still as clear as a spring. She wanted to capture the charm lord before she did anything evil again. Yanran, eat something. A magnetic voice sounded, and a slender hand reached out from the side, holding a small piece of bread in it. You've been too tired these 2 days. Everyone's heart aches for you. Words of concern floated out from the magnetic voice. Thank you, Huigang. Don't be so courteous with me. You're working so hard. My heart aches when I see you. His gentle eyes were overflowing with concern. Yanran's lips curled into a smile as she lowered her head to continue reading the information. The incident this time was a big deal for the southern aristocratic families. Many cultivators were transferred over to fight together. Huigang did not expect that Yanran would actually become their leader. Along the way, her calmness and decisiveness in killing had deeply attracted him. Huigang looked at the girl whom he had known since childhood. Because both families were cultivators, they had been close since they were young. He was older than her by 2 years, but since young, Yanran had always been calm and collected. This girl's mental age was far more mature than his. Seeing her grow more and more beautiful, more and more outstanding, his gaze was involuntarily attracted to her. He believed that very soon, she would become an existence that people in the cultivation world would look up to. And his wish was to have the opportunity to walk side by side with her in the clouds. Xiao Xiao took the opportunity when the police were interrogating to take a picture of the scene of the explosion and posted it on his WeChat Moments with the caption, "Going out was not smooth." Immediately after, his WeChat Moments exploded. Dumpling-loving dough bun. F***CK. Brother Qiao, where is this car accident scene? It looks so exaggerated. Riding waves with you. Brother Qiao, are you okay? Did the explosion damage your handsome face? Jiao Qiao. Brother Qiao, you're still so concerned about the people's livelihood when you're on vacation. Sand eagle crossing the river. Brother Qiao, wait for a moment. I'll cross 3,000 kilometers to pick you up. Walking snow. Don't let the car accident affect your vacation mood. Xiao Xiao waited for a long time, but he still did not receive a reply from a certain someone. He silently put away his phone. Let's go. I've already talked to the police. They'll retrieve the video to reconstruct the scene. They won't let the two tankers off easily. The driver, Old Wang, stayed at the scene. He still had to deal with the follow-up matters. The insurance company also came. One of the cars was completely destroyed, and all kinds of procedures were very complicated. Two police officers came to record Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui's statements. One was male and one was female. The male was slightly older, and the female looked like a young beauty who had just graduated. After they described what happened, they signed their statements. When the policeman saw Xiao Xiao, he said directly, "Young man, you're so handsome." Big brother police officer, I'm already in such a sorry state, and you still say I'm handsome. The beautiful police officer beside him nodded repeatedly. When I saw you just now, I thought you were a celebrity. I even imagined a big conspiracy just now. Comrade police officers, you're so humorous. After Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui finished their statements, they were allowed to leave first. The two of them now only had their wallets and phones. Fortunately, they carried them with them. The suitcases that followed the car were all destroyed. What do we do now? The suitcases are gone, and we're still on the highway. How are we going to leave? Let's wait. I'll ask my dad to send another car to pick us up. Lu Hui looked around and felt a headache. Xiao Xiao winked at Lu Hui. Watch me. He walked in front of the beautiful police officer and smiled at her. Beauty, we were miserable just now. Can I trouble you to send us to a place where we can get a taxi? The beautiful police officer raised her head, and a handsome face looked at her with a smile. She suddenly blushed and nodded. I'll send you for a while to serve the people. Lu Hui and Xiao Xiao got into the car, and the beautiful police officer directly sent them off the highway. Along the way, Xiao Xiao and the beautiful police officer chatted enthusiastically. Hearing that they were going to Egret Resort Villa, the little beauty directly drove the car to the entrance of the villa. She and Xiao Xiao added each other on WeChat and said that they would contact each other later. The little beauty reluctantly drove away. Xiao Xiao, it's only been a few years, and your charm has grown. In a few years, can you still handle it? Isn't expanding my circle of friends a good thing? It's helpful for my cultivation. 80% of your circle of friends are girls, right? It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, as long as there's spiritual energy. The two of them talked and laughed as they walked through the villa's entrance. The resort villa was indeed as magnificent as the legend said. It was decorated with carved railings and painted buildings, and it was decorated with an antique flavor. The villa's entrance was a very tall archway. It wasn't a real entrance, but an open passageway. After entering the entrance, they walked in. On both sides of the road stood plane trees. Although it was winter, they could still see their tall and mighty stature. Today's sun was a bit glaring. Xiao Xiao threw his sunglasses in the car. At this time, he could only slightly cover his eyes with his hands to prevent his eyes from being burned by the sun. The two of them walked along the path of the parasol tree, and what greeted them was an antique guest house. There were two receptionists standing at the door. The two of them were very cute, wearing pink cashmere overcoats with pink earmuffs on their ears. Brother Hui, are these two hostesses wearing pink clothes? Xiao Xiao suddenly asked Lu Hui. Lu Hui was stunned for a moment, then suddenly reacted. Your eyes can see? I feel that there is a little color other than black, white, and gray. Is this pink? Xiao Xiao stared at the two hostesses without blinking. Yes. That's great. Your eyes are finally improving. Lu Hui was very happy. He punched Xiao Xiao's shoulder. Ouch! Xiao Xiao rubbed his shoulder. He was also a little happy. It seemed that it was a blessing in disguise. When the two hostesses saw the two boys walking towards them, their eyes lit up. One of them was shockingly beautiful. His facial features were exquisite, and he was handsome. The way he walked was like a star. However, the two of them were wrinkled as if they were picked up from the garbage. Seeing that he kept staring at them, the two of them couldn't help but curl their lips and laugh. Welcome to Egret Resort. The two girls bowed at a standard 90 degrees. Lu Hui took out 2 tickets from his wallet and waved them to the two girls. We are here for a vacation. Welcome, welcome. We will definitely make the two of you feel at home here. Please go to the lobby to register. The two of them walked into the magnificent lobby. This high-rise lobby was decorated magnificently. A large chandelier hung from the ceiling and shone with golden light. The two of them walked to the front desk, took out their ID cards and tickets, and handed them to the receptionist. The girl was shocked by Xiao Xiao's beauty. One of them was born to be the idol of the day. However, when she saw their clothes, she was stunned. Then, the smile on her face was like the arrival of spring. Welcome to Egret Resort. Do the two of you need to check your luggage? Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui looked at each other. Didn't you make us feel at home? We came empty-handed. The girl immediately smiled. The two of you are so wise. How heavy is a suitcase? We have everything here. If you need anything, just ask the staff. There were other guests in the lobby who were checking in. But overall, there weren't many people. After Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui checked in, a receptionist immediately led them to their rooms. Along the way, she enthusiastically introduced the services inside. We have a lot of entertainment here. The two of you have traveled a long way to come here. I guess the first thing you want to do is to soak in a hot spring and relax your body. This is our hot spring introduction. We have all kinds of pools. If you just want to relieve your fatigue today, you can rest in the small pool next to your room. Tomorrow or the day after, you can experience our other special pools. Our restaurants are all 5-star and above. They are divided into several large restaurants. There are Sichuan braised dishes, Cantonese dishes and Huayang dishes. You can choose from them depending on your taste. The hotel usually comes with some gyms to read books. These are all available. Game rooms, internet cafes, amusement parks and outdoor activities are all very rich. We have a small casino. Many guests come here for this. We also have some entertainment facilities, such as taking a cable car to the top of the mountain to see the night view. At the back of the mountain, there are hunting, real-life battles and role-playing. Everything is available. The two of you are here for the first time. You can slowly play and experience all the activities. Then, you can find your favorite and start to play. The most popular collective activities here are ranked first by the hot spring, second by the casino, and third by the night large-scale singing and dancing. As they spoke, they had already reached the door of their room. The receptionist helped them swipe the room card and opened the door. Then, she bowed 90 degrees again and revealed a big smile. She made a gesture of inviting them in. Thank you again for choosing Egret Resort. I hope you have a good time. Chapter 35. Brother Hui, it sounds really good. Looks like we chose the right place. Xiao Xiao closed the door with satisfaction. I think we're destined for good fortune after surviving a great disaster. The car accident didn't kill us, so we're compensated. Lu Hui was also very satisfied. The two began to look around the room. This was a suite of nearly 80 square meters. The two master bedrooms took up nearly 40 square meters, and each room was 20 square meters. There was a 2-meter wide bed in each room. Outside these two rooms was a large living room with a long L-shaped sofa. The TV on the opposite side was at least 80 inches. In the corner of the living room was a bar with a wine cabinet. There were several bottles of wine in it. There wasn't much furniture in the room, but everything was exquisite, especially the various small decorations, room service, and carefully folded towels. This place looks pretty good. It's comparable to my home. Xiao Xiao leaned on the sofa and stretched with satisfaction. Your family has mines. Who can compare to you? Speaking of which, where did your money come from? Where else could it come from? I brought it from the devil realm. These things are all handled by Uncle Wu. He said that the family has an endless amount of money. I think you're the representative of a rich man's son. Unlike us, who have to work hard to do business. You've been reincarnated really well. What's so good about it? No matter how good you are, you still have to come to the human world to gain experience. You haven't suffered at all. What kind of experience is this? How is it not? I've almost died twice. Then aren't you not dead? I'm very curious. Where are you going if you die? Are you going straight back to the devil realm? How would I know? I've never died before. But I heard that after people die they go to the underworld. I can't believe I met a little monster like you. It's our fate. You're the monster. Monsters are from the demon realm, okay? I'm from the devil realm. I can't tell which realm you are from. But I do know that none of you are human. Do you think I'm also someone from that world who came to the human world to gain experience? It's just that I've lost my memories. Lu Hui couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. That's possible. Maybe you were a carrot in your previous life. Why should I be a carrot? Because you were born in the year of the rabbit. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Xiao was amused and rolled on the sofa laughing. Lu Hui pounced on Xiao Xiao's body and pretended to be fierce as he tried to strangle him. The two of them fought back and forth, creating a mess. Xiao Xiao took a few more pictures of his room and posted them on his WeChat moments. He realized that he had so many messages that he couldn't finish reading them. But there was no one he wanted to see. Yanran had already gotten off the plane. She brought a few people and went straight to the Charm Lord's residence. Hua Gang was in charge of driving. The military vehicle was bumping along the rocky mountain road. Yanran, there is no GPS here. It shows that there is no road ahead. Are you sure we're not going the wrong way? Hua Gang looked at his GPS. There was nothing. I drew a handmade map according to that woman's instructions. The direction is right here. Yanran was expressionless. She said with certainty, keep driving. Hua Gang was not so sure. Yanran, it really shows that there is no road ahead. If we keep going, we'll reach the cliff. Keep driving. We'll talk about it when we reach the cliff, Yanran said calmly. Soon, the GPS showed that they had reached the cliff. They got out of the car and looked. How was this a cliff? It was clearly a barren grassland. The GPS must be affected by signal interference. It can't show where the Charm Lord's base is. Looks like the map we drew is correct. Hua Gang didn't expect it to be true. He regretted his lack of determination. They continued to get in the car and drove forward. The map showed that their car had fallen off the cliff. The road was even more bumpy. The car was basically driving over the uneven grass. Yanran took out her phone. She wanted to send a message to Xiao Xiao, telling him not to go anywhere for the next few days, and to be careful at home. Unfortunately, there was no signal on her phone. Hua Gang, do you have a signal on your phone? The others took out their phones. There was no signal. F***CK. Why is this place so creepy? Yanran's face turned cold. Looks like the opponent is very strong. He used signal interference to interfere with the GPS and the phone. Looks like we can only rely on ourselves. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui opened the closet. They found all kinds of casual clothes. They all had labels on them. It was obvious that they were brand new. Wow, that was so thoughtful. He knew that we were lacking clothes, so he sent them here. Look, there's even underwear. They are all unopened. This is a hot spring resort. Of course, clothes have to be prepared. Brother Hui, why don't we go eat something first, and then soak in the hot spring to relieve ourselves? Sure, I'll listen to you. What do you want to eat? Why don't we have Cantonese food first? I'm a little thirsty. I want to drink some of his soup. Sure, let's go. The two of them finally changed out of their dirty clothes and into brand new casual clothes. They washed their faces and combed their hair. Finally, they were two handsome young masters again. The two of them walked to the Cantonese restaurant. They could order and eat buffet here. The two of them ran directly to the buffet. The buffet was very sumptuous. There were seafood and Hong Kong-style snacks. There was nothing missing. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui ate until they were full. Even the little black bun on Xiao Xiao's head couldn't move. The two of them attracted the attention of many people in the restaurant because of their handsome appearance. Lu Hui saw Xiao Xiao gnawing on a big crab leg and couldn't help but remind him, "Brother, you should eat more elegantly. Why do you look like a reincarnated hungry ghost? There are so many people looking at you. It's not good for your handsome image. You don't have to worry about that. I eat like this in the school cafeteria. Many girls say that I look handsome when I eat. They all say that I look good when I eat, and it makes them hungry too. I think you're spoiled by these girls." Lu Hui couldn't help but laugh. "Let them watch. You'll get used to it." In the cafeteria, a few people stopped watching after a while. However, there were still 2 people who watched their every move from the beginning to the end. They didn't relax at all, afraid that they would miss any details. After eating and drinking, the 2 of them decided to soak in the hot spring at the side of the cafeteria. The cafeteria was next to their room. After changing into new swimming trunks, the 2 of them came out with a towel wrapped around them. Because it was the cafeteria next to their room, it belonged to this room. Other people couldn't soak in it together. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui each occupied one side of the cafeteria. There was a service button next to the cafeteria. After Xiao Xiao pressed it, a waiter immediately came up and brought them some fruits and drinks. He placed them on a plate, and the food floated over with the water. The 2 of them were very comfortable in the cafeteria. At this time, Yanran, Huagang, and the others had already reached their destination by following the map. Yanran saw that there was a house in front of them. It looked simple and unadorned. She listened carefully. It was very quiet at this time. Because they didn't have cell phones, Yanran, Huagang, and the others were connected to the radio. Each of them was wearing a bulletproof vest and had a gun at their waist. They were also equipped with some smoke grenades. Yanran took out a pair of binoculars and observed the movements in the house. However, every window in the house was tightly shut. It seemed that there were thick curtains inside. 2 people stay here to ambush and provide support. The other 3 come with me, Yanran calmly ordered. The 2 people left behind guarded 2 opposite corners of the house. They found 2 high positions and set up their sniper rifles. Yanran led the others and quietly crept over. The 4 of them spread out and tried to sneak in through the windows. Yanran used magic and climbed up to the 4th floor like a gecko. She stood on a windowsill and looked in. Through the gap in the curtains, she saw that there was no one in the room. It was convenient for her to do what she wanted to do. She used her index finger to release a white light and cut off a small piece of glass. She reached in and opened the window. Then, like a cat, she quietly entered the room. There was no one in the room. It seemed to be a guest room. Yanran first sensed the surroundings and found that there were cameras in all 4 corners of the house. She released a white light and created a layer of fog in front of each camera. It was so white that nothing could be seen. Then, she felt relieved and boldly searched the room. Huagang and the others also successfully entered the room. One of them entered the laboratory. There were many glass jars inside. There were all kinds of living things in the jars. He looked at them and reported the situation to Yanran through the walkie-talkie. The room that Huagang entered was also empty. It seemed to be a study. After taking care of the camera, he heard people talking outside. He quickly dodged to the side and hid in a cupboard. "How's it going?" A female voice came in. 2 people came in, a man and a woman. "We've lured them out of Nanchuan. We arranged for people to attack them on the highway, but it didn't work. They're lucky. Where are they now?" "They've already checked into the villa. Our people are watching closely. After all, the resort is a public place. We have to do it secretly and not let others find out. A few people have already been caught. The situation is tense. It's all because of these 2 guys. We have to prepare to move. Charm Lord, actually, they don't know much about us. Even if they're caught, they won't be able to get anything out of them." "That's not necessarily true. It's not easy for them to catch our people so accurately. Tell them to pack up and prepare to leave." "Yes." Then the 2 of them left the room. Huagang reported the situation to Yanran through the walkie-talkie. 2 people are discussing in the room. They're preparing to leave. Yanran thought for a moment. It seems that the female voice just now was Charm Lord. Little 6, create chaos in the laboratory. After receiving the order, Little 6 lit a fire in the laboratory and quickly climbed out of the window. The fire quickly triggered the alarm, and everyone rushed to the laboratory. Little Six looked and saw that there were about 10 people. Yinran directly ordered to kill the 10 people. Little Six didn't hesitate. He took out his gun and aimed at the 10 people. Although there was a silencer, there was too much noise. The entire villa was noisy. Chapter 36. Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui were comfortably soaking in the pool, drinking and eating snacks. The hot spring water seeped into their pores and the temperature was just right. Although this was a small pool, it was actually not small. It was about 30 square meters and was right next to their room. It could be considered a relatively independent space that outsiders couldn't see. The hot spring water formed a mist. It wasn't very obvious in the winter, and only wisps of it hovered above their heads. They didn't know when it started, but the green plants surrounding the pool also released wisps of mist. It mixed with the hot spring's mist and entered their nostrils. Xiao Xiao, do you smell anything? Lu Hui sniffed with his nose and felt a little strange. There seems to be some smell. It's a little thicker than before. Is it the smell of sulfur? The minerals in the hot spring will emit the smell of sulfur. Xiao Xiao also sniffed hard, but he didn't care. He picked up the drink next to him and took a sip. Lu Hui no longer hesitated. He looked at Xiao Xiao's exquisite collarbone and slender neck and praised, "How did you grow up? How did you grow up to be a monster? If you enter the entertainment industry, you'll definitely be popular." Xiao Xiao raised his eyebrows and didn't care. "My existence is the gospel of all the girls in the world." "Then are there any girls who like you now?" "Of course there are. There are a bunch of them." "What about you? Do you have any girls you like?" A cold face appeared in front of Xiao Xiao's eyes. Then he shook his head. "Not yet. What about that Yinran?" "Her." Xiao Xiao raised his voice. "She's a tigress. She controls me tightly. Ha ha ha. There's actually a day when someone as arrogant and unruly as you is controlled. Can't help it. She's much better than me." The two of them talked and laughed. Gradually, they felt a little dizzy and sleepy. The two of them leaned against the pool and fell asleep. At this time, two people quietly sneaked into their room. They went around to the side of the pool and saw the two sleeping figures. They looked at each other and finally succeeded. These two people were the two people who drove the oil tanker on the highway. At that time, they didn't succeed and were scolded by their boss. In their organization, if they didn't do things well, they would be punished severely. The two men trembled as they admitted their mistakes to their boss and promised that they would find a way to complete the task. Then, they followed the two men into the egret resort. Boss had instructed them to be discreet in public and not give themselves away. The two of them searched for an opportunity for a long time before they finally found a switch. They put the medicine into the nozzle, and it filled the air. They originally thought that the two of them were in the room, but they didn't expect that they were actually soaking in the hot spring next to the room. The heavens were really helping him. It was too easy to cause an accident in the pool. The two of them no longer hesitated and quickly went forward. Each of them grabbed a head and pressed it under the water. "Lord Charm, this is bad. The laboratory is on fire." "How did the lab catch fire?" "Hurry up and get all the treasures." Lord Charm just finished speaking when she thought of something. "Wait, something might have happened. Did someone sneak in?" "Hurry up and look at the surveillance cameras." "Boss, the surveillance cameras didn't see anything." "No, go get your weapons and prepare for battle." Lord Charm suddenly raised her voice. Her subordinate trembled and hurriedly went to the weapons room to get his weapons. But the moment he turned around, a bullet had already hit his head and blood splattered everywhere. The Charm Lord watched as her capable subordinate fell to the ground in front of her with his eyes wide open. She hurriedly rolled on the ground and hid behind a cabinet. She pulled out her gun from her waist and looked around cautiously. Yinran and the other cultivators were very strong. Little Six alone took down 5 of the 10 people in the lab. The others knew how powerful Little Six was and quickly raised the alarm. More people rushed to the lab, but the fire in the lab blocked their way. Little Six hid outside the window and wasn't affected by the fire. He quickly climbed from one window to another and floated in from another room. The original people in the villa were like headless flies as they searched everywhere for the attacker. Hey. At that moment, a strange flute sound came from the villa. It was Lord Charm summoning her poisonous creatures. The poisonous bugs surrounded by the fire in the lab were already restless. Now that they heard the flute sound, they crawled even more crazily. Soon, due to external and internal force, they broke through the glass cover and rushed to the door. Some of the goo bugs were burned by the fire as they crawled. Some flew through the sea of fire and out of the room. The flute sound summoned them to find an unfamiliar aura. Soon, Yanran and the rest realized that some strange bugs had gathered around them. Goo bugs. At this moment, guns were useless. Yanran directly used the sword energy formed by her fingers to slash at the bugs. But not everyone was as powerful as Yanran. A few of them were bitten by the goo bugs. The places bitten by the goo bugs started to rot and expand rapidly. These goo bugs didn't fly away after taking a bite. Instead, they tried to burrow into your body. It was as if your blood and flesh were the most delicious food in the world. A goo bug burrowed into a person's body. It followed the blood vessels and crawled towards the heart. Soon, Yinran's companion was tortured to death by this goo bug. After all, there were too few people in Yinran's group. In addition, the two people who were waiting outside also came in. After fighting with the goo bugs, only 3 people were left. Yanran, Huagang and Little Six. Yanran, they don't have many people left. Huagang had just killed a person and was panting as he spoke. Who are you? Why are you attacking us? At this moment, the flute sound stopped and Lord Charm's voice sounded. We represent the country to catch you scum. Huagang gritted his teeth and shouted at her. Lord Charm was alarmed when she heard that. How did they offend the country? Who let the cat out of the bag? Lord Charm rolled her eyes. Is there a misunderstanding? We are law-abiding citizens. Did you make a mistake? Huagang sneered. Why would law-abiding citizens carry guns? Aren't you being too naive? Lord Charm took advantage of the time when Huagang was talking and chanted in her heart. She directed a goo bug towards the direction of Huagang's voice. This goo bug slowly crawled over from the ground. It climbed onto his shoes and socks, and slowly climbed up Huagang's pants. As it was winter, Huagang was wearing very thick clothes. The goo bug couldn't find a way out, and could only slowly climb up his clothes. Lord Charm was still shouting at them. Neither side showed themselves. At this moment, if they weren't careful, their heads would be blown off immediately. Xiao Xiao felt like he was dreaming. He felt like there was a huge rock on top of his head, and he was sinking into the sea. The air pressure around him made his lungs swell. He didn't dare to open his mouth, and he couldn't breathe. His mouth was bulging, and he couldn't open his eyes because he was tired. He was like a fish out of water. He was at the bottom of the sea, but he couldn't feel the water. His eyes could still feel a trace of light. He knew he hadn't sunk to the bottom of the sea yet. He began to wave his hands and feet, trying to move the stone away from his head. But the rock above him was thousands of pounds. He couldn't move it with his strength alone. His throat started to taste sweet, and his consciousness was a little chaotic. He felt like he was a person who had been wandering in the desert for dozens of days. He was dry from the sun, and there was water around him, but he couldn't drink it. Xiao Xiao cheered himself on in his heart. Come on. I can't really suffocate to death. He suddenly woke up from his coma and opened his eyes. The spicy hot spring water immediately stung his eyes, causing them to hurt. He closed his eyes again, but to understand his situation, he forced himself to open them. He looked around. Only then did he realize that he was really in the water, and there seemed to be a hand above his head that was desperately pushing him down. The hand above his head was like an elephant's leg. At this moment, he was like an ant that was about to be squashed by an elephant. Xiao Xiao felt like he was going to suffocate to death. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. Just like that, he was pressed down firmly. Time passed minute by minute, second by second. His lungs bulged. That was the original bit of qi in his body. He held it all in his lungs, and it extended outwards through each of his alveoli. His entire body was screaming, I want to breathe. Just as all of his alveoli were about to explode, the demonic qi bun on top of his head could no longer tolerate having such a troublesome fellow on top of his head. It suddenly exploded with power that soared into the sky. It was this power that pushed the hand on his head far away. He gasped for breath, quickly suppressing the pain in his body. He didn't even have time to observe his surroundings. He only cared about lying by the side of the pool and desperately gasping for breath. What he didn't know was that his devil energy explosion didn't just overturn the hand on his head. It also sent the hand that was pressing down on Lu Hui's head flying. The force was too great. The two of them were slammed into the wall. The shoulder blades on their backs were directly shattered. The two of them were hit until they vomited blood. When they came to their senses, they realized that Xiao Xiao was really too scary. He wasn't someone that mortals like them could fight against. Taking advantage of the fact that Xiao Xiao hadn't come to his senses, the two of them quickly supported each other and escaped. Xiao Xiao rested for a while before he recovered. He remembered that he and Lu Hui were in the hot spring. He didn't know how things turned out like this. At this time, Xiao Xiao finally had the energy to look for Lu Hui. His whole body felt like it had been run over. He was extremely tired. He saw Lu Hui lying on the surface of the water, but he was also unconscious. He no longer had the strength to pull Lu Hui up. He could only paddle to Lu Hui's side and pull him to the side of the pool. Then, he pulled Lu Hui's head up and placed it on the platform. Then, he swam to the other side of the pool with difficulty and found the button to call for help. He held on until he vaguely saw a figure coming over. Then he completely fainted by the pool. Chapter 37. The goo worms crawling up Huagang's body did not give up. Under Lord Charm's command, they crawled up to his collar. Huagang was still fearless. Yanran saw that both sides were in a stalemate, so she rolled a smoke grenade towards the other party. There were pros and cons to smoke grenades. They could blow the other party out, but they could also be used as a cover to escape. The Charm Lord saw a black object rolling towards her and thought it was a grenade. She was forced to jump to the side. Yanran was waiting for this moment. She flew out and hit the Charm Lord's shoulder with her gun. Lord Charm's gun did not back down and fired a bullet. It brushed past Yanran's nose. That was close. The smoke from the smoke grenade affected their vision. Lord Charm saw that it was not a grenade and was overjoyed. She wanted to take advantage of the smoke to escape. However, Yanran didn't give her a chance to escape. She and Little Six flanked her from the left and right, breaking the stalemate. When Lord Charm rushed out of the door, Yanran and Little Six appeared beside her like ghosts. The black muzzles of two guns were pressed against her temples. At this moment, Huagang rolled to the place where the Charm Lord was hiding. With 2 shots he killed both of his subordinates. Huagang stood up. He was about to heave a sigh of relief when he suddenly felt as if his neck had been bitten by a worm. The bite was so heavy that he felt dizzy. He quickly slapped his neck. Sure enough, a goo worm the size of a fingernail was attached to his neck. He slapped the goo worm to death. Black blood flowed out of the goo worm. It mixed with the blood from the bite on his neck. Huagang did not notice that the black blood had seeped into his bloodstream. Little Six had already handcuffed Lord Charm. Yanran looked at Huagang and walked over while touching his neck. Are you okay? I think I was bitten by a goo worm and bled a little. When Charm Lord heard this, she laughed out loud. This is the Goo King that I have spent so much effort to nurture. If you can get a bite from him, your life will be worth it. Huagang stepped forward and gave her a slap. I've already killed your Goo King. Do you want to be bitten by it too? What? The Goo King that I have cultivated for decades was actually killed by you. You will be struck by lightning. After saying that, the Charm Lord screamed like a madwoman. Yanran struck the back of her neck and knocked her unconscious. The casualties this time are too heavy. We need to report this to Elder Yen as soon as possible and ask him to deal with the aftermath. Huagang reminded. There's no signal now. Let's quickly take her away from this place. They quickly left the small building, returned to the car, and left this sinful place. Yanran, we finally caught the culprit this time. From now on, they won't be able to harm people anymore. I get goosebumps when I see those goo worms, Huagang said. You were bitten just now. I don't know if you're okay. Go back and do a full body checkup. Don't leave any side effects, Yanran said to Huagang. It should be fine. I've already killed the goo worm. Brother Gang, these goo worms are weird. You should be careful. Look at those people who were controlled by the goo worms. They couldn't resist at all. Little Six said with concern. Yinran remembered how Xiao Xiao had been controlled by the goo worms. Now that they had captured Lord Charm, Xiao Xiao wouldn't have to worry anymore. Little Six said, although Lord Charm has been captured, we still need to find her subordinates. We still have a lot of people to deal with. Yinran said, yes. This group has a lot of people and they're ruthless. As long as they have drugs, they'll continue to do evil. That's right. When I went in, I heard them say that they lured 2 people out of Nanchuan. They arranged for someone to attack them on the highway, but it didn't work. Yinran turned her head sharply. What did you just say? Nanchuan? Huagang saw Yinran's shocked expression and said, yes. They said that they lured people out of Nanchuan. They should be at some resort now. I don't know who they're going to harm. Yinran suddenly had a strong feeling that this had something to do with Xiao Xiao. Because in Nanchuan, only Xiao Xiao was related to this group. Could it be that Lord Charm had ordered another attack? Yinran took out her phone and wanted to call Xiao Xiao, but she found that there was no signal at all. She gripped her phone tightly, burning with anxiety. Lil Six, drive faster, drive faster. Huagang asked curiously. Yinran, do you know who it is? Yinran didn't answer. Her worry was like a raging fire that couldn't be extinguished. After Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui were rescued, they were quickly sent to a nearby hospital. Lu Hui was sent to the emergency room because he had been suffocating for too long. Xiao Xiao was much better. After the doctor's diagnosis, he had only fainted and his life wasn't in danger. Xiao Xiao was sent to a single ward. Then, the hospital immediately informed the families of the 2 patients. What they didn't know was that the 2 people with broken shoulder blades lived next door to Xiao Xiao. When Xiao Xiao and Lu Hui were sent in, there was a huge commotion. First, it was a group of Egret Resort staff, then a group of nurses and doctors. Originally, Xiao Xiao, who had fainted, didn't need so many people to treat him. However, his face was a heaven-defying existence. Once he entered the hospital, word spread. Most of the people were here to admire his peerless appearance. Groups of doctors and nurses came to the door, chattering away noisily. Finally, the other patients couldn't stand it anymore, and started to complain that the hospital ward was too noisy. Finally, this bad atmosphere was stopped. But because of this, the other 2 guys also came out to take a look out of curiosity with their bandages wrapped around their bodies. They recognized at a glance that this was the unfinished mission that their boss had given them. They were just worrying about how to complete this mission when someone came knocking on their door. The 2 of them exchanged glances and returned to the ward. They started to whisper. When it was almost 1 o'clock in the night, the 2 of them started to move. One of them hung the "Do Not Disturb" sign in front of Xiao Xiao's door. Then, the 2 of them flashed into Xiao Xiao's ward. Xiao Xiao lay quietly on the bed like a sleeping prince. The drip that was supposed to be taken during the day had been completed. At this time, there were still nearly 2 hours before the nurse came to check his heartbeat and blood pressure again. The 2 of them whispered all night. Now they thought of an ancient criminal law. Using wet paper to cover the face, it caused suffocation to death. Their boss had emphasized to them that they must not act rashly and alert the enemy. They must not let others see that it was an abnormal death. This was their first attempt. They took a stack of toilet paper, wet it with water, and stuck it on Xiao Xiao's face. However, they didn't expect that the quality of the toilet paper was not good. It would rot when it came into contact with water. As Xiao Xiao breathed, the paper on his face was blown away by him. The 2 of them had to find better quality paper. When they found A4 printing paper, they found that it was too hard to stick on the face. The 2 of them were at their wits' end. This gave them a headache. It turned out that killing was also a skill. In for a penny, in for a pound. Just suffocate him to death. One of them said fiercely. The 2 of them lifted Xiao Xiao's head, pulled out a pillow from below, and covered his face with it. However, the 2 of them underestimated the injury of their shoulder blades. They couldn't exert any strength at all. One of them had to climb onto the bed and step on the pillow with his foot. Xiao Xiao's poor nose was squashed just like that. The two of them had already turned off the lights. The moonlight shone in from outside the window. At this time, the two of them were extremely vicious. The whole ward was filled with shadows. It was eerie and terrifying. The weak light in the corridor shone in through the gap in the door and shone on the two of their faces. The two of them looked ferocious because of the exertion. However, because the pillow was too thick, they didn't know how effective it was. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, didn't know because he had fainted. After about 5 minutes, one of them asked, "Did it work?" "I don't know. Why don't we take a look?" The man on the bed got off the bed and moved the pillow away. He touched Xiao Xiao's nose and said, "He seems to be breathing. What's wrong?" F***CK. His nose is probably too high. Again, I don't believe that we can't kill him. This time, the two of them stuffed the tissue directly into Xiao Xiao's nostrils. Then, they covered his face with the pillow. This time, Xiao Xiao finally reacted. He felt that he was back in the water. The uncomfortable feeling came again. He had fainted because he was too tired. Now someone was telling him not to have a good rest. He, Xiao Xiao, was not a ball in the palm of anyone's hand. He opened his eyes abruptly. No, his eyes hurt. Even when he opened them, he couldn't see anything. All he could see was darkness in front of him. Something was rubbing his face, and he was about to explode. He saw the door of the room suddenly burst open. Then he heard 2 bangs and 2 screams from the ground. The pressure on his body was instantly relieved. Then the thing on his face was violently removed. The tissue in his nostrils was removed. His whole face was carefully held up. He felt that it was a pair of soft and slender hands. They were trembling. Then he heard a trembling voice calling him in a low voice. "Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao." It seemed to be trembling from the bottom of her heart. Fear, worry, fear, and all kinds of emotions mixed together. It was like a color palette in the trembling voice. He recognized that it was Yanran. He was about to respond to her when he saw Yanran run out. She didn't care that it was the middle of the night. She shouted in the corridor, "Doctor! Doctor!" The doctor on duty was dragged out of bed by her. He hadn't put on his coat yet. One end of the stethoscope that was supposed to be hanging around his neck was still in his hand. The other end was dragged on the ground. He was dragged into the ward by Yanran. After Yanran's ruckus, several more nurses came in. After turning on the lights, they were shocked to see the situation in the room. They saw 2 people lying against the wall. They were unconscious. The back of their heads hit the wall. It was obvious that they were bleeding. The bandages on their bodies were also bloody. The whole room was a mess. At this time, Xiao Xiao was surrounded by a group of people. Yanran finally retreated to the corner of the room. Chapter 38. When she heard from Hua Gang that someone had been tricked out of Nanchuan, she guessed that it might be Xiao Xiao. She had been busy with the Charm Lord for so many days and hadn't had time to contact him. She didn't expect that something would really happen to him. When her phone had a signal, she saw the 2 posts that Xiao Xiao had posted on his WeChat Moments. Her heart immediately hung in the air, as an unknown fear clenched her heart tightly. She had never been so flustered before. She had thought that after dealing with the Charm Lord, Xiao Xiao would never be in danger again. But she hadn't expected that she would still be in a race against time. During the 5-hour flight back, she couldn't calm down for even a moment. Hua Gang and Little Six had already fallen asleep from exhaustion. The Charm Lord was still unconscious. Her mind was filled with the image of Xiao Xiao being poisoned. She wanted to force herself to rest for a while. But even if she closed her eyes, her eyeballs kept rolling in her sockets. She paced back and forth at the back of the plane, wishing that she could grow wings and fly back to Nanchuan. She had already asked Grandpa to send people to the resort, but she was still worried. She could only relax when she saw that Xiao Xiao was fine with her own eyes. When the plane landed, she received a call from Grandpa. Grandpa told her what had happened. He had already found out that Xiao Xiao and Little Six were at the resort, but they had been sent to the hospital a few hours ago because they had drowned. Something had really happened. The car accident hadn't ended, and now they had drowned. It seemed that the Charm Lord's subordinates had received orders to kill them. Anger and helplessness burned through Yanran's meridians. No matter how capable she was, She couldn't protect the person she wanted to protect. She rushed to the hospital. It was already 1 in the morning. She hadn't slept well for nearly 10 days. When she rushed into the ward, she thought that she would see Xiao Xiao lying quietly on the bed. She didn't expect to see another murder scene. A dirty foot stepped on Xiao Xiao's face through the pillow. Is that something you can blaspheme? Yinran was simply burning with rage. However, Xiao Xiao did not move at all. Yinran held her breath at that moment. Was she too late? Yinran didn't even use her brain to think. She directly flung the two of them away with 2 streams of sword qi. She knew that she had used too much strength and violated the propriety that a cultivator should have. But at this time, she couldn't care about anything else. She only hoped that Xiao Xiao would live. At this time, Yinran couldn't care less about her own calmness. She rushed to the bedside and held Xiao Xiao's face with her trembling hands. It was still that stunning face, but at this time, there was no movement and no response. She didn't even dare to put her hand under his nose to check if he was breathing as she rushed out of the ward. She knew she was running away. She didn't dare to hear the result that would break her heart. A large group of people surrounded Xiao Xiao. At this time, Yinran retreated to the wall. She pursed her lips and covered her chest with her hand, waiting for the doctor's verdict. A group of doctors and nurses surrounded Xiao Xiao. The sound of flies echoing in his ears became louder and louder. Someone lifted his eyelids and shined a flashlight on them. He felt so uncomfortable that he wanted to shake his head. His eyes were already hurting, but they still used a flashlight to stab him. It was simply torture. He wanted to shout and drive away all the flies around him, but he found that his throat was dry, and he couldn't make a sound. He tried for a long time, and his lips moved slightly. He's awake! He's awake! A nurse shouted happily, as if Xiao Xiao was her family. After Yinran heard it, she immediately rushed over from the wall. She pushed through the crowd and squeezed in front of Xiao Xiao. She had never lost her composure like this before. Her cold eyes revealed ecstasy. Xiao Xiao. She held his hand and wrapped it in her 2 palms. There was no one else in her eyes. Hey, miss, please move aside. We are checking him. A nurse saw Yinran's performance and was angry. She directly drove her away. Yinran coldly glanced at her. Her eyes were cold, which made her immediately shut up. Miss, please wait a moment. Are you his family member? Let's finish checking him first. The doctor said. Yinran had to listen to the doctor. She could only let go of Xiao Xiao's hand and retreat to the side. But at this time, her heart was a lot more at ease. Soon, the doctor finished the check and said to her, "It shouldn't be a big problem. He's already awake, but he seems to be unable to open his eyes. His throat is also dry. Feed him more water. We will inform the police about what happened here. The police will be here in a moment." Thank you, doctor. A large group of people came and left Xiao Xiao's ward in a hubbub. Before leaving, several young nurses looked at Yinran. Some were staring at her, and some were curious. She didn't care so much. When she heard that Xiao Xiao was fine, she returned to her usual calmness. Xiao Xiao, it's Yinran. Can you hear me? Xiao Xiao finally felt that his ears were quiet. He raised his hand and pointed at his eyes and throat. Don't worry, I'm going to die, Yinran said. It meant that he couldn't open his eyes and couldn't speak. Yinran quickly poured a glass of water for him. She held his head up and fed him little by little. Xiao Xiao's lungs were uncomfortable because his mouth and nose were pressed by the 2 people, so he could only drink little by little. But because it was the first time that Yinran fed someone water, she fed him too quickly. Xiao Xiao coughed violently. Yinran was immediately flustered. She almost spilled the glass of water. She quickly took a napkin and helped Xiao Xiao wipe the spilled water. Xiao Xiao's face was red because of the violent coughing. It seemed that there was a trace of blood, and he was even more ruddy. Some water leaked out of his mouth. There was a water stain on his chin that extended to his Adam's apple. Yinran carefully wiped the water from the corner of his mouth. His white lips were slightly curved. His chin was delicate and well-shaped. Further down, it was his protruding Adam's apple. Yinran's hand had just touched his Adam's apple when she saw it move. Xiao Xiao swallowed. Yinran was stunned. As if she had been scalded, she quickly withdrew her hand. Her face flushed red. Yanran, my eyes hurt. Xiao Xiao could finally speak in a hoarse voice. He didn't know why Yanran was here. He didn't ask. It was as if it was natural that she should be here. What's going on? Why do your eyes hurt? Yanran frowned. She didn't notice anything strange about his eyes. She thought that Xiao Xiao's lungs were just hurting from holding it in. When I was soaking in the hot spring yesterday, I opened my eyes underwater. I was probably stimulated by the hot spring water. This is common sense. You can't open your eyes in the hot spring. Don't you know that? Yanran couldn't help but scold Xiao Xiao. At that time, I was pressed under the water and couldn't breathe. Of course, I had to open my eyes to see what was going on. How can you blame me? Xiao Xiao pouted, feeling wronged. What? Someone wanted to harm you in the hot spring? Yes, I almost lost my life. Lu Hui is still in the emergency room. I don't know how he is. Hurry up and help me ask. Yanran didn't know that there were so many twists and turns in the story. She quickly went to the nurse's station to ask about Lu Hui's situation. When she found out that he had been transferred to the ICU hospital and would be out of danger soon, she felt relieved. At this time, a large group of people came to the nurse's station. This night was destined to not be peaceful. The nurses and doctors were so noisy that they couldn't sleep. Yanran saw that it was Lu Hui's family. When Lu Hui's mother saw that Yanran was also here, she immediately cried and hugged her. How did something like this happen when the two of them were on vacation? Yanran could only hug Lu Hui's mother back. Auntie, don't be sad. Fortunately, nothing serious happened. Now that the two of them are safe, that's the best result. It's all my fault. Why did I have to let them soak in the hot spring? So many things happened. Lu Hui's father also began to blame himself. Uncle Lu, did you give them the hot spring tickets? Yes. I received 2 tickets to the resort out of the blue. I thought that the 2 children were on vacation, so I let them go and have some fun. I didn't expect something like this to happen. I don't even know how to explain to Xiao Xiao's family. Yanran knew in her heart that this was a trap. She didn't say anything more to Lu Hui's parents. She only told them that Xiao Xiao would be taken care of by her. Lu Hui's injuries were more serious, so they would have to worry about him. When she returned to Xiao Xiao's ward, Xiao Xiao had already struggled to sit up. He was trying his best to stuff a pillow behind his back. Yanran saw this and walked up a few steps. She took the pillow from his hand and helped him sit up. Lu Hui has been transferred to the ICU. The doctor said that he will be under observation for 24 hours. His life shouldn't be in danger. It's just that he suffered a lot this time. Who on earth wants to kill us? Is it that organization? Xiao Xiao asked hoarsely. It's that organization. But don't worry, I've already caught their boss. This is the last time. You've been busy with this matter for the past 2 days. Yes, I've been busy with this matter for half a month. Originally, I wanted to send you a message to tell you to be careful. But at that time, I entered an area where there was no signal, so there was no way to contact my phone. And I just met Lu Hui's father. You guys going to the resort this time was probably a trap set up by them. Yanran told Xiao Xiao about the incident bit by bit. Xiao Xiao closed his eyes and listened carefully. After a long silence, he said, "Thank you, Yanran. Thank you." Xiao Xiao raised his left hand and slowly touched it. Yanran didn't know what he wanted to touch. "What do you want, Xiao Xiao?" "I want to touch your face." Yanran was stunned. "Why do you want to touch my face? I might become blind now. I can only rely on my hands in the future," Xiao Xiao said gloomily. "Nonsense. Your eyes must be temporary. It's night now. When the ophthalmologist comes to work tomorrow, he'll give you a consultation. You'll be fine. Don't think too much. I know in my heart that my eyes are very painful. They should be injured." Xiao Xiao's mood was unusually low. "Okay, don't think too much. You're tired today. Go to bed early. What about you? Are you leaving?" Xiao Xiao suddenly grabbed Yanran's hand and asked. Yanran thought for a moment. "I'm right beside you. I'm not leaving." Xiao Xiao's mouth finally had a trace of a smile. Chapter 39. When a person is sick, they are always mentally fragile. Xiao Xiao is like this. Although Uncle Wu also rushed over, Xiao Xiao still pestered Yanran. Yanran, my eyes hurt. Help me blow them. Xiao Xiao felt wronged and acted like a spoiled child. Yanran was helpless against him. She stared at him, but he couldn't see. She took a book and fanned it in front of his eyes. Yanran, the wind is too strong. My eyes can't stand the wind. I'll let you blow them with your mouth. Xiao Xiao complained. Yanran gritted her teeth. She shouldn't have spoiled him like this. Since he woke up last night, Xiao Xiao's eyes didn't hurt much except that he couldn't see clearly. However, he had more and more problems. Yesterday, she was soft-hearted and agreed to stay here with him. As a result, she ended up like this. Not only did she serve him tea, she also had to make jokes. She also had to read books and read newspapers, tell jokes, post on her WeChat moments, and dress up. Yanran never knew how a boy could have so many things to do. I finally know why you can't study well. You put all your effort into these things. You're lying on the hospital bed, yet you still want to dress up like the best in the world. Do you have to do this? Yanran couldn't stand it anymore. How can I not have to do this? Of course I have to. I have to maintain a good image. If my charm decreases, there will be fewer people who like me. Then my spiritual energy will decrease. That's not good for my cultivation. Moreover, I can't attract your attention. Why do you want to attract my attention? Do you think I don't take care of you enough? Yanran couldn't help but roll her eyes. You're taking care of me for my own good. You're in charge of taking care of me. And I'm in charge of looking handsome. Isn't that great? Pfft. I didn't realize that you were a masochist. The two bickered. Time passed quickly. The head of the ophthalmology department finally came for a consultation. It was a middle-aged man who looked hale and hearty. After carefully examining Xiao Xiao's eyes, he said regretfully, his eyes are covered by a layer of something. If he wanted to be completely cured, he would need a small surgery. After being stimulated by the hot spring water, those things had become somewhat solidified. If he doesn't undergo surgery soon, he might go blind. Yanran was a little nervous when she heard that. What's the success rate of the operation? Generally speaking, the success rate of this kind of surgery is above 50%. In terms of safety, you can basically rest assured. Now all of it is done with the robotic arm, and the accuracy can be guaranteed. However, it was his eyes after all, so the success rate was only 50/50ths. Yanran and Uncle Wu seemed to be listening to a verdict. They knew nothing about medicine. He could only follow the doctor's instructions. The surgery was scheduled for 3 days later. In the past 2 days, Xiao Xiao had completely experienced what it was like to be blind. Other than needing Uncle Wu's help to go to the bathroom and take a shower, Yanran had to take care of everything else. Xiao Xiao didn't know why, but he was addicted to ordering Yanran around. He also took it for granted. Yanran, drink water. Yanran, eat fruit. Yanran, I'm hungry. Yanran, I want to go out for a walk. Yanran's back was stared at by the young nurses. It wasn't easy for a handsome guy to come, but they didn't have a chance at all. Lu Hui also finally came out of the ICU. However, his drowning this time was more serious, and his lungs were injured. He needed to rest well. With Yanran's help, Xiao Xiao went to see his fellow sufferers several times. One had difficulty breathing, and the other couldn't see. It was really sad. However, when Lu Hui learned that the criminal gang had been completely eliminated, he finally felt relieved. He was a cheerful person. After surviving a disaster, he was bound to have good fortune. Then he quietly said to Xiao Xiao, Yanran is so good to you. She's here with you every day. Xiao Xiao was very proud. My charm is great. Life in the hospital was not boring, because there was a person accompanying him. Instead, it became very interesting. In addition to various examinations, the two of them played around. Basically, Xiao Xiao was talking and Yanran was listening. Xiao Xiao felt that other than the fact that she could not see, her life was pretty good. Soon, it was the night before the surgery. The young nurse came to tell him about the preparations for the surgery tomorrow. Then she didn't want to leave. She chatted with Xiao Xiao there. Yanran waited for a long time. She saw the young nurse and Xiao Xiao chatting happily. She couldn't interrupt, so she went out and called Huagang to ask about the specific situation. Huagang thought that she was going to deal with something more important. Don't worry, we're already interrogating him. But he's very stubborn. He didn't tell us much. Did you catch the others? We've already caught 4 or 5 people, but we don't have a complete list. I'm afraid that there will be fish that slipped through the net. We must find a way to get the Charm Lord to tell us the list. I'll be back soon. When Yanran returned to the room, the young nurse had already left. Xiao Xiao was alone with his head lowered and eyes closed. He sat quietly on the bed. He turned off the lights in the room and only left a table lamp on. His shadow cast on the wall, elongating and somewhat bleak. There were only the 2 of them in the room. Uncle Wu had already gone to sleep in the next room. Yanran suddenly said to him, "I'm going back." Xiao Xiao turned his head to the source of the voice. After a while, Xiao Xiao asked carefully, "Are you unhappy?" "No, I haven't completely dealt with the matter from last time. I need to go back and deal with it." "Have I been too ugly these 2 days? Why did you leave me?" Xiao Xiao felt very wronged. "I have an operation tomorrow. Aren't you going to accompany me?" "I'm sorry. I've already been delayed for a few days. I'll call you after the operation tomorrow." Yanran was a little helpless. For the past 2 days, Xiao Xiao had been using this trick to deal with her and win her sympathy. She didn't know why she had changed. She had been staying here for a few days. She couldn't ignore the organization's matters anymore. "No, wait for me to finish the operation tomorrow before you leave. If my operation fails and I can't see anything, then I don't want to live." Xiao Xiao began to act shamelessly. "You're talking nonsense again. It's not so serious. The doctor said that the success rate is more than 50%. Yanran had a headache and didn't know what to do. Then there's at least a 50% failure rate. If I can't see, I'll die." Xiao Xiao was willful and shameless. He wanted Yanran to stay. Yanran couldn't do anything to him. Yanran closed her eyes. "Well, I'll wait for another day. I'll leave after you have an operation tomorrow." Xiao Xiao made a sign in his heart, but he was a little melancholy. Yanran still had to leave. He didn't know what was wrong with him. He always wanted Yanran to be with him. It seemed that he had the greatest dependence with her. He wanted to see her every day, bicker with her, and hear her cold voice. Even if she didn't say anything, she could make him feel at ease with her by his side. He secretly asked Lu Hui what was wrong with him. Lu Hui panted as if he had seen a ghost. "You don't know? Isn't it obvious? You like her. Or you have a crush on her." At that time, Xiao Xiao was a little stunned after Lu Hui said that. "No way, how come I didn't know at all? Is this what it means to like someone? You want to see her every day, and don't want to be separated from her. Isn't this like?" Lu Hui really wanted to knock his wooden head. "You look quite smart, the handsome invincible. Why are you like an idiot when it comes to relationships? You're too slow." After being reminded by Lu Hui, Xiao Xiao thought about it carefully. Although he was usually confessed to and liked to tease other girls, it seemed that this was the first time he really liked someone. First love. And puppy love. Actually, Xiao Xiao was happy in his heart. It didn't matter if it was his first love or puppy love. The most important thing now was whether Yanran liked him or not. Looking at her cold personality, it didn't seem like she would like someone. This made Xiao Xiao a little crazy. He thought about his previous interactions with Yanran. It seemed that he didn't show a particularly outstanding side. His grades were not good, and he always made her angry. Last time, when he was provoked by the goo worm, he showed his ugliest side in front of her. Damn it! What could he use to attract her? Just because of his face. Therefore, these few days, he was crazily testing Yinran's bottom line. However, Yinran's attitude was the same from the beginning to the end. She was cold and natural. He was a little frustrated, and it was this frustration that made him grateful for his desire to conquer. He believed in his charm, the invincible. The next morning, Xiao Xiao changed into a clean surgical gown and prepared everything. He was about to be pushed into the operating room. It was his first surgery, and he was inevitably a little nervous. Yanran, Lu Hui's parents, and Uncle Wu all came to cheer him on. Even Lu Hui, who was in a wheelchair, was pushed over. "Xiao Xiao, don't worry. Your surgery is general anesthesia. You'll be fine after a sleep. Don't worry about the robot's surgery. It's very accurate. It won't make you crooked." Lu Hui patted his arm and encouraged him. At this time, Xiao Xiao looked at Yinran and said, Yinran, you promised me. You're not allowed to leave. Yinran looked at him calmly. Then your surgery can only succeed. Failure is not allowed. Otherwise, you won't be able to see me again. Xiao Xiao sometimes hated Yinran's calmness. Why was she always so calm? Can't you say a few words of concern? He looked at Yinran even more sadly. Is this something I can decide? Yinran looked at him like this, and felt a little soft-hearted. Okay, it's okay. You have to do your best. Watching him being pushed away by the nurse, Yinran suddenly thought of something. She ran up to Xiao Xiao and said in his ear, Remember to use your spiritual energy to protect your whole body. This way, you'll be less hurt. Don't be afraid. Do your best. I'll wait for you outside. Xiao Xiao finally smiled. Yinran still cared about him. The door of the operating room was closed, and the lights in the operating room were turned on. The family members would ask to wait outside. It was not until then that Yinran suddenly felt a little flustered. She was calm before, because she deliberately didn't think about the possible failure of the surgery. After all, the eyes were the most important organ of the human body. She didn't dare to think about how big of a blow it would be to Xiao Xiao if he couldn't see. He was such a narcissistic person. Now that the lights in the operating room were turned on, her mood was affected. She secretly prayed in her heart that the surgery would be successful. Chapter 40. The air conditioner in the corridor of the operating theater was warm, isolating all the winter coldness outside the window. Yinran's heart was alternating between hot and cold. At this moment, she suddenly had a deeper understanding of the number of 50%. The possibility of success was 50%, and it might fail. She wished that the 50% would be 100% bright outside, and the stars at night would be 100% dark. Unfortunately, it was this 50% that made her heart feel uneasy and suspended in midair. Xiao Xiao had been in for almost half an hour. According to the experience of previous surgeries, the first half of the hour was to be anesthetized, and the operation would start after he was completely unconscious. A nurse at the nurse's station next to her received a phone call, and then she muttered to the nurse next to her, The anesthesiologist is actually late today. It's so strange. Shouldn't he be ready a long time ago? Yinran heard the voice, raised her head and asked, Who's the anesthesiologist who's late for the surgery? The nurse was originally whispering, but suddenly being exposed, she panicked a little. This is an internal matter of the hospital, don't ask. Tell me, who's the anesthesiologist who's operating on? The young nurse saw that Yinran's eyes were as cold as steel knives, as if she would be cut in half immediately if she didn't answer. She couldn't help but say, The one who operated on the eyes of the most handsome guy just now. No, how could this be? Is it still the original anesthesiologist? Why is he late? Yinran continued to ask, and her voice became colder. The original anesthesiologist suddenly fell ill, and a new anesthesiologist was replaced. But don't worry, he's already in. How could things be so coincidental? The operation was a prearranged process, and no mistakes could be made at any stage. If the anesthesiologist was replaced by the wrong person, wouldn't there be a problem if it was not explained clearly? There was only a 50% chance. Would it be reduced to 30% because of the anesthesiologist? Yinran couldn't help but be a little worried. She thought about it and quickly ran back to the ward to find a doctor on duty and asked him about the anesthesiology. However, the doctor wasn't very clear about Xiao Xiao's anesthesia, but he told Yinran, Sai, why is he sick? I saw him this morning. Where did you see him? Yinran grabbed his arm in a hurry. It's in the corridor in front. The doctor didn't know what had happened. Under Yinran's ferocious gaze, he said what he had seen. Yinran immediately rushed into the corridor in front of her. She went into every single safe passage, including the storeroom and the men's toilet. She didn't care about anything else. She just wanted to confirm a guess in her heart. She hoped that she was wrong. When she pushed open the door of the 5th storage room, she found a person fainted behind a big broom. It was obvious that after he fainted, someone had moved him here and covered his body with a broom. Yinran immediately called someone to check, and soon several security guards came to the hospital. When they discovered such an abnormal situation, they quickly reported it to their superiors. After confirmation, unfortunately, Yanran guessed correctly. This was the anesthesiologist who was going to perform the anesthesia this morning. Yanran was so anxious that she felt a little dizzy. It was really impossible to guard against. She looked at her phone. At this time, Xiao Xiao had been in for nearly an hour and a half. She didn't know if she could make it in time. Her heart was beating rapidly. The hospital also knew the importance of this matter. They immediately sent someone to the operating room to inform them to stop quickly. There was a safety accident. However, Xiao Xiao's operation was at a critical moment. The doctor was using a mechanical arm to set the program and was operating on Xiao Xiao. The program was set, and there was no way to stop it. The doctor who was operating saw someone waving outside, but he didn't know what was really going on. The operating room was closed and no one could enter. The anesthesiologist who they were most worried about quietly left the operating room after the anesthesia in the morning and was long gone. Xiao Xiao had already entered a deep coma and didn't know anything. Yanran waited anxiously outside the operating room. She couldn't do anything at this time. She couldn't feel anything except for her rapidly beating heart and the fierce cold wind outside the window. The security guard who entered the operating room walked out. He shook his head at Yanran, meaning that he couldn't do anything. The operation was already in progress. At this moment, the hospital director also rushed to the door of the operating room. "Where's that person?" "I'm sorry. That person is nowhere to be found." The security guard lowered his head in shame. "What about the operation now? Is it still going on? How's the patient?" The doctor was in the middle of the operation. Because it was a mechanical arm, he couldn't stop at the moment. He could only wait patiently. "Don't you have any other way? How is Xiao Xiao now?" Yanran suddenly felt a burst of anger break through her heart and shouted loudly, "Miss, don't be anxious. I'm the director here. I'm an ophthalmologist. I'll go in and take a look first. I swear on my integrity, I'll definitely do my best to save the patient." Yanran's heart was getting more and more flustered. She looked at the back of the director, walking into the operating room, and wanted to follow. But she was stopped. The door of the operating room was like a cold iron fence, isolating her. Uncle Wu came forward and pulled Yanran. "Miss Yanran, young master is blessed. I believe he can survive." Yanran didn't tell Uncle Wu about the fake anesthesiologist. Wu Bo thought that Yanran was just worried about whether Xiao Zhao's operation was successful. He saw Yanran so angry, but he comforted her first. "Young master is young and healthy. There's no problem." Yanran looked at Uncle Wu's slightly gray hair and said nothing. She sat on the chair next to him and buried her face in her hands. The sound of the cold wind outside was getting louder and louder. It seemed to blow into Yanran's heart through the window. The nurses next to her didn't dare to say anything. They didn't expect such a big thing to happen. Looking at Yanran at this time, they couldn't help but sympathize with her. Yanran was really helpless at this time. It was like watching a child fall into the water. She had a lot of skills, but there was nothing she could do about it. The light in the operating room corridor was very bright, but at this time, Yanran hoped that it could be dimmed a little. She didn't want her to see her fear. Time passed minute by minute. About an hour later, Yanran sat on the chair motionlessly. She returned to her expressionless state. But if Xiao Xiao was here at this time, he would definitely see the white steam bun above her head. Finally, the light in the operating room went out. The doctor and the director walked out with tired faces. Yanran was a little absent-minded. She really didn't want to hear the words, "We've done our best." She sat on the chair and didn't stand up. Instead, she waited for the director and the doctor to announce the final result. She saw the director walking towards her. He frowned and said to Yanran, "The operation was very successful. It's just that the patient was given too much anesthetic. We don't know when he will wake up." Yanran's eyelashes fluttered. Her fingers gradually tightened. She stood up and asked, "Can I see him now?" At this time, 2 other doctors had already pushed out the sleeping Xiao Xiao. At this time, his expression was calm, and his face was as white as a sheet of paper. Even his originally rosy lips had lost their color. At this time, He was like a sleeping prince, waiting for his beloved princess to kiss him awake. Yinran knew that she couldn't leave. Not only could she not leave, but she also had to transfer her people over. He could not let the people here get away with it again and again. After Xiao Xiao returned to the ward, she called Huagang and told him that the Charm Lord's henchman had appeared here. He had to quickly send people to arrest him and bring him to justice. The hospital's cameramen were very helpful this time. After Huagang and the others got the video, they quickly followed the clues and directly caught all the people in the network. Yinran finally felt relieved. She could stay here and accompany Xiao Xiao in peace and help him through this difficult time. At this time, Xiao Xiao was lying there in a vegetative state. He was lifeless. Even the little black bun on top of his head was sleeping soundly. After the examination, the anesthesiologist directly gave him 3 times the anesthetic dose. If it was an ordinary person, he would have died during the operation. However, because Xiao Xiao had demonic energy in his body, and at the same time, he listened to Yinran's words and guided a lot of spiritual energy to protect his body. The operation was very successful. His eyes recovered very well. The doctor had already removed the bandages. Xiao Xiao was now sleeping in his own dream. In his dream, he returned to the devil world and became that good-for-nothing rich kid again. Every day he ate, drank, and played happily with a group of bad friends. However, every night when he slept alone, he always felt that he had forgotten something. He played in the devil world for a few days and a days. At night, the worry in his heart deepened. Slowly he was afraid. At night, he was afraid to see his emotions clearly. Finally, one day, he made up his mind to look for his missing person. Thus, with the help of his demonic energy, he flew everywhere in various spaces. At night, there was a force guiding him. He flew and flew until he finally flew into a ward. He saw a fresh and refined girl sitting by the bed in the ward. At this time, she was resting with her eyes closed. There were bruises under her eyes. It was obvious that she hadn't rested well for many days. He recognized her. This was the Yinran that he was worried about. He raised his hand and wanted to use his finger to gently stroke the bruises under Yinran's eyes. However, he found that his finger had passed through. He wanted to pull her hand again, but he couldn't touch it at all. He looked around and found that he was lying quietly on the bed. He knew that he should return to his body. He didn't hesitate to lie on the bed and let himself and his body become one. He used the spirit attraction technique to surround himself with spiritual energy. It was this movement that caused the surrounding spiritual energy to fluctuate and woke up Yinran. Yinran didn't sleep well. She would feel the slightest movement. As soon as she woke up, she threw herself in front of Xiao Xiao and observed his movements. At this time, Xiao Xiao had completed the merging of his body. He moved his finger, frowned, and opened his eyes. Their eyes met. Chapter 41. Reflected in Xiao Xiao's eyes was a beautiful and refined face, as quiet as the winter snow, and as noble as a glacier. For the first time, Xiao Xiao saw rosy lips, as if the whole white face was on fire. The slightly healthy pink on the cheeks was lustrous and translucent, and the small nose was slightly raised. The only flaw was that there were dark circles under her eyes. At this time, Yinran's eyes were filled with tears because of excitement. Her lips trembled slightly as she called out Xiao Xiao's name. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but reach out his hand and touch the dark circles under her eyes. He used a little devil energy and ran it through his fingertips. After he touched it, the dark circles disappeared. Perfect! His fingertips were suddenly caught by Yinran, and Yinran's eyes were full of worry. Xiao Xiao, you're finally awake. Can't you see? Xiao Xiao was stunned for a moment. He realized that Yinran must have thought that he was blind and was touching something. He grinned, and the warm winter sun enveloped the whole room. He suddenly had the idea of teasing Yinran, and turned into a crying face. The temperature of the whole room suddenly dropped by 2 degrees. Yes, it's still blurry. I can't see clearly. Yinran was anxious. Wait a minute, I'll call the doctor. Yinran turned and ran. Yinran's anxious look warmed Xiao Xiao's heart. He looked at Yinran running out of the room and smiled foolishly. The doctor soon came, and a large group came. Even the director heard the news and came. The hospital had a lot of responsibility for Xiao Zhao's medical accident. Now that the patient had finally woken up, it was great news for them. They were also very strange. Generally speaking, excessive anesthesia would damage the patient's mental system. It was possible that the patient would be in a vegetative state for a long time or die directly. Xiao Xiao could wake up. It was a miracle given by God. Xiao Xiao cursed in his heart. If I wasn't the crown prince of the devil world, I would have died long ago. From the doctor's conversation, he already knew that he had been harmed again. But this time he didn't know about it. When he found out, he broke out in a cold sweat. Lu Hui had told him that those who survived a great disaster were bound to have good fortune in the future. It seemed that this disaster was not over yet. The doctor announced that Xiao Xiao was basically fine, but Yinran still asked anxiously. His eyes still can't see clearly. What happened? The doctor was a little puzzled. I checked his eyes. The layer of fog is gone. The operation was successful. If he still can't see clearly, it means that he hasn't recovered. Eyes are fragile organs that need long-term care. Don't worry, it will get better one day. Don't use your eyes too much for now. Take good care of it, and eat more food that protects your eyes. Yinren wrote them down one by one. After the doctor left, she told Xiao Xiao to rest assured that the bad guys had been arrested. After this ordeal, Xiao Xiao finally knew that his eyes were fine, and his color blindness was cured. Although there were some twists and turns in the process, the ending was good. He looked at Yinran's little mouth and felt that it was very novel. Before, Yinran was quiet and cold, not like now. Since he was injured, their roles seemed to have reversed. However, Xiao Xiao enjoyed Yinran's concern. As he spoke, the little white bun on top of his head revealed its original color. It was purple. At this time, it was jumping up and down with excitement. It could be seen how happy Yinran was. If it could go on like this. Xiao Xiao continued to pretend to be pitiful. Yinran, I want to drink water. Yinran, I want to go out and bask in the sun. Yinran, tell me a story. It was warm and comfortable, calm and cozy. Until one day, Xiao Xiao sat on the bed and listened to TV. As a patient with bad eyesight, of course, he could only listen to TV. Yinran changed a channel for him, where there was a street dance. It was good to let him listen to music. The TV was playing a wonderful street dance competition. The more he listened, the more excited he became. Later, he couldn't help but sit up from the bed, completely forgetting that his eyesight was bad. He stared at the TV and said to Yinran accidentally, "Why are these street dancers dressed so brightly?" Yinran's hand that was peeling an apple paused. She looked at the black bun on top of Xiao Zhao's head and jumped up and down excitedly. Then she looked carefully at his eyes. They were bright and spirited. The corners of his eyes were raised, and there was a smile in his eyes. He didn't look like a blind person at all. Yinran slammed the apple and the fruit knife on the table. She walked to Xiao Xiao, raised a finger and asked, "How many is this?" Xiao Xiao was excited. He looked at Yinran's finger and answered without hesitation, "1." Yinran picked up a book next to her. The cover was red. She put it in front of Xiao Xiao and asked, "What color is this?" Xiao Zhao's mind was not on Yinran at all. He felt that Yinran was blocking him from watching TV. He replied impatiently, "It's red. Get out of the way." Yinran walked in front of the TV and directly turned it off with a barbaric operation. "Yinran, what are you doing?" "I'm happy to watch it." Yinran walked to Xiao Xiao with a fake smile and said, "Happy to watch it? Are your eyes better?" Xiao Xiao immediately reacted. He immediately leaned against the pillow behind him and covered his head with the quilt. He began to cry sadly. "I could see a little just now, but now I can't." Yinran was so angry that she directly pulled the quilt away from Xiao Zhao's head and said, "How dare you pretend for me? You've delayed my work." Xiao Xiao saw that his trick didn't work. He immediately took Yinran's arm and said coquettishly, "I was wrong. My eyes suddenly got better yesterday. I didn't tell you that it was my fault. Please forgive me. I won't tease you next time." Yinran shook her arm angrily and left. Xiao Xiao called after her, but it was useless. Yinran was really angry this time. She had too many things to deal with. She couldn't deal with them in the hospital every day. Many things needed to be done by herself. She felt that she spent too much energy on Xiao Xiao. In this way, Xiao Xiao's thrilling and warm life in the hospital finally came to an end. The days after Yanran left were extremely boring. The doctor wanted Xiao Xiao to continue to observe him, and didn't let him leave the hospital. Lu Hui had to stay for a while because of his serious injury, so the two brothers' vacation place became the hospital. In the hospital, there was no other entertainment except watching TV. Xiao Xiao wanted to play games, but was rejected by Uncle Wu. I just want to play games with my eyes. Let's talk about it after they get better. With Yanran here, he could still tease her. But Yanran was gone, and there was no one to order around. Moreover, Yanran didn't even call him after she left, which made Xiao Xiao feel depressed again. He posted several WeChat moments, telling his loneliness, boredom, and loneliness. He asked for someone to accompany him in his WeChat moments. But other than a large group of fans and classmates who took the initiative to sign up, there was no one he wanted to see. There wasn't even any news. Xiao Xiao gritted his teeth and said, Bing Shanyan really lives up to her reputation. She left just like that. Cold and heartless. Just like that. Xiao Xiao felt bored and criticized in his heart every day. The days passed quickly. Finally, Lu Hui had more or less recovered. The two brothers' winter vacation was finally over. The third day after leaving the hospital was the start of school. Xiao Xiao used the last 3 days to play games crazily. Ever since his eyes recovered, the whole world was new to him. All kinds of colors filled his surroundings. And it was even more so in the game. The characters' personalities were distinct, and the fighting designs were brilliant. The colors showed him another world. Uncle Wu reminded him that school was about to start. But the world of bad students was like this. Studying was always the last thing. Uncle Wu, I can't play games after school. Just let me go for the last 3 days. Before, Yanran gave me a week off. Xiao Xiao begged Uncle Wu as he blinked his eyes and pretended to be pitiful. After this incident, Uncle Wu was also quite frightened. He was more tolerant of Xiao Xiao. Then it's the last 3 days. After school, you have to study hard. No problem. Just like that, 3 days passed in a daze. Finally, school started again. Ever since Xiao Xiao's eyes recovered, he seemed to have opened a new door. He told Uncle Wu that his clothes were too monotonous. He requested that his wardrobe be changed to high-end custom-made clothes with other colors. Today was the start of school. He couldn't disappoint his classmates and fans. More importantly, he had to make the eyes of a certain someone that he hadn't seen for many days shine. The school had a rule that he didn't need to wear his uniform on the first day. It was the time for him to shine. Just like that, he woke up early that day. He took out one set of clothes after another from his wardrobe. After trying for a long time, he finally chose a set of light blue sportswear. It was blue with white flowers. There were dark patterns embroidered on the cuffs and collar. It was noble and elegant, youthful and handsome. Paired with a pair of sneakers, he tried to jump up and down, and did a few hip-hop moves. He put on his sunglasses and whistled at himself in the mirror. He picked up his bag and walked out of the house with satisfaction. The school was like Xiao Zhao's home ground. He could do whatever he wanted. Today was especially good. Xiao Xiao changed his black, white and gray clothes. As soon as he entered school, he was on the top of Tieba's 9 palaces grid. Hashtag coming with the wind, like a flower blooming, the blue sea. The fish leaping up hashtag Pandora's box. Brother Qiao's peerless beauty leads the coquettishness. Top 9 palaces grid to comfort everyone's hearts that have been empty for a long time. Big frog at the bottom of the pit. All the romance in the world is because of your brother Qiao. I'm only missing a pair of sneakers. A jade spring, clear eyes, elegant youth. Little Jar loves photography, love love. Brother Qiao's fan club. The romance of the Milky Way is all yours. Expired biscuit. The love in the clouds. Every one of them is a throbbing heartbeat that can't be hidden. Gluten that loves dumplings. There are many people who like you. You don't need me. I like very few people, only you. Waves with you. Let me engrave this moment in my mind. Lasting. The kite has the wind, the dolphin has the sea, and I have you. Walking snow. Do you know the difference between you and the stars? The stars are in the sky, and you are in my heart. In a short period of time, there were countless praises. Xiao Xiao didn't know where these classmates and fans got so much creativity, but he was happy. Everything was so beautiful, except for a certain someone who would never send him a message. Chapter 42. On the first day of school, it was as if everyone had just woken up from a nap. After being woken up by the familiar bell, everyone in the school stretched their bodies. Then, everything became lively. The students in the school ran at the front, and the wind followed behind them as they ran towards the field. They chased after each other, afraid that the wind would catch up with them. In the classroom of grade 1-3, Xiao Xiao looked at the empty seat in front of him. He felt so bad that he wanted to grab something and stuff it in. He asked around, but no one knew where Yinran went. Brother Qiao, today's the first day of school. Let's go play ball in the afternoon. Zhang Deong had waited so long for school to start. He had been waiting for the stars and the moon. Finally, he could play in the team competition. Let's go and find something to fill up. Xiao Xiao grabbed his bag and walked out with Zhang Deong. What do you mean by fill up? Brother Qiao, I haven't seen you for a month, and your speech has become more profound. The two talked as they walked, and their voices drifted further and further away. It was like this for a few days in a row. The seat in front was always empty. The emptiness made Xiao Xiao's heart flutter like 1,000 autumns, unable to settle down. She felt so uncomfortable that her heart was scratching at her liver. She couldn't contact her phone at all, let alone her WeChat moments. Brother Qiao, did you hear? Sister Yinran seems to have gone to the International Olympic competition. I heard she won a big prize. The loudspeaker Ma Xiaoxian rushed to Xiao Xiao as soon as he heard the news. It was as if he was here to show off his achievements. Before Xiao Xiao could say anything, Zhang Deong shouted, "Wow, that's awesome! Is it true?" Of course it's true. The teacher is going to post the good news on the bulletin board. Ma Xiaoxian patted his chest, implying that his words were absolutely reliable. Xiao Xiao took his long legs off the table. Let's go take a look. They walked out of the classroom. Before they reached the bulletin board, they were bumped into by a few students who ran past them. F*CK, what's there to run? Zhang Deong shouted while rubbing his arm. Quick, come quickly. This is the first time our school has won an international award. I'm so excited. Run faster. If there are too many people, we won't be able to occupy the front seats. Then a few more people ran like the wind. Xiao Xiao stopped a girl who was running away. What are you running for? Isn't it just a notice? When the girl saw that it was Xiao Xiao who had pulled her back, her eyes were filled with surprise. She lowered her head and stamped her feet, screaming silently in her heart. Blushing, she said, Brother Qiao, you don't know. It's not just a notice. I heard that Yinran is back, and the principal is going to let her give a speech under the national flag, so everyone is rushing to grab a seat. Sure enough, the school broadcast station's loudspeaker sounded at this time. Students, good news! Good news! Our school's student Yinran has won the first international award for our school. Please gather on the field and listen to student Yinran's speech under the national flag. After the girl heard the broadcast, she directly said to Xiao Xiao, Brother Qiao, I'm going to grab a seat first. My name is Sun Qingqing. Remember to keep in touch. After saying that, she ran away. Xiao Xiao still didn't understand what was so great about this competition. Although he had heard of it, why was it so sensational? He pulled Zhang Deong. Big Yang, what's so great about this competition? Brother Qiao, this competition is amazing. This is the International Middle School Competition, and it has a huge impact on the world. The contestants must be middle school students under the age of 20. Each team has 6 students, and 2 mathematicians will be the leaders. After the questions are confirmed, they will be translated into different languages. This is a national competition. Those who can win this award are the group of people with high IQ. There are only a few people in the country every year. It's really amazing. I don't know what award Yinran brought back. If it's a gold medal, it's too amazing. This represents the students' academic strength. It's winning glory for the country, Ma Xiaoxian added. I heard that with this award, they will be directly recruited by the top universities in advance. I'm so jealous. What kind of brain does she have? After being informed, Xiao Xiao felt a sense of pride in his heart. Yanran, good job. He also wanted to go and see. Then they saw Xiao Xiao, who was faster than the wind, disappear in the blink of an eye. Zhang Daong and Ma Xiaoxian were still looking at each other when Xiao Xiao shouted from a distance, I'll go first. When Xiao Xiao arrived at the field, there were already a lot of people around. The whole field was full of people. The students who were playing football here had heard the broadcast and directly occupied the field. They were the best, and had snatched the seats in the first row. At this time, they were already looking forward to it. Xiao Xiao used his charming smile to open a bloody path for himself. After that, a circle was formed with him as the center. He was also tall, so at this time, he had occupied the best position. His hands were in his trouser pockets. Although he was standing casually, the eyes of others could not leave him. He was a natural clothes hanger. Xiao Xiao felt that the sun was too glaring, so he put on his sunglasses and attracted more attention. Soon Xiao Xiao saw Yanran. Although they had not been separated for long, he felt that Yanran had become thinner. Her whole small face was so sharp that it could poke into his palm. Her waist seemed to be slimmer. Xiao Xiao compared it with his palms in his heart. He felt that it was too loose to hold with both hands. It seemed that he had to take good care of it. The principal was in high spirits and beaming with joy. He introduced Yanran's results. This is her personal honor, the school's honor and the country's honor. At this time, the students gave the warmest applause. Then it was Yanran's speech. Her smile was dull and her voice was calm, as if this was something that should have happened. She talked about the process of the competition, and then introduced some learning experience. Finally, she attributed all the honor to the teacher's teaching, the help of the students and the care of the school. Xiao Xiao looked at Yanran on the stage. She was calm and steady. He was proud of her. At the same time, there were some inexplicable emotions surging in his heart. There seemed to be some inferiority, some impulse, and some worship. These emotions surged in his heart, but he did not know how to settle down and how to get rid of them. It was the first time that Yanran's post on the school's tieba was more popular than Xiao Xiao's post. There were a lot of praises below. Many students took screenshots and videos of the news and showed them on the floating window on the front page of the tieba. On the floating page, there was a cartoon avatar of Yanran with a faint expression. Xiao Xiao was lying on the bed with his phone. He tossed and turned, thinking about what kind of congratulatory WeChat message to Yanran. He made it up and deleted it, and made it up again. He felt that no matter what he said, it would not be enough. In the end, he just sent a cute pink pig emoji, with two cute pig hands rubbing its chubby face, and then waited for a reply. Unfortunately, it was the same as before. Xiao Xiao felt that his teeth had been ground flat recently. Why was this guy so hateful? At this moment the phone rang. Xiao Xiao jumped up from the bed. He could not help but smile with satisfaction. He picked up the phone and threw a pillow with his left hand. Hello. You finally thought of me? How's your eye? A cold voice came through. It was still as serious as ever. It's okay. Sometimes the sun is a little dazzling. Then you have to take care of yourself. You can't play games when school starts. The two of them were in an awkward situation. Then are you still helping me with my revision? It depends on the teacher's arrangement. I'm a little short on time. How can you not care about me? Xiao Xiao suddenly raised his voice. I haven't even gotten into the 300th place. This is also what I wanted to tell you. You're already so old. You can't always rely on others. You have to rely on yourself. Xiao Xiao was a little depressed. I'll continue to help you set the revision plan for this semester. But the specific revision will depend on you. Oh, got it. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Don't, I have something to do. I want to treat you to a meal to celebrate. I'm a little busy these few days. I might not be free. Then I'll wait until you're free. After Yanran hung up the phone, Xiao Xiao did not hang up for a long time. He suddenly felt that he and Yanran had suddenly become estranged. How could the endless things they had to say be interrupted by an international award? Brother Lu, let me tell you a piece of good news. Yanran won an International Olympic Award. Xiao Xiao thought about it on the bed for a long time. In the end, he still called Lu Hui and told him everything he wanted to say to Yanran. I saw the news on TV. Yanran is really too awesome. She's the pride of our country. Lu Hui was not stingy with his praise for Yanran. Lu Hui's words simply touched the bottom of Xiao Xiao's heart. He felt sweet in his heart. It was as if Lu Hui was praising himself. But Brother Lu, I realized that after Yanran won the award, she seemed to have become estranged from me. I haven't seen her for almost half a month. When I talked to her on the phone just now, why did I feel like I didn't have anything to say? Xiao Xiao said with incomparable grievance. How can that be? Yanran took care of you in the hospital for so long. How can she be estranged? Is it because she's been too busy recently? Didn't she help us catch the bad guys? Or is it because you're thinking about other things again? It seems like it. Why do I suddenly feel like I'm not worthy of her? Xiao Xiao said to Lu Hui what was in his heart. Damn, you're a super school hunk. How can there be a girl who doesn't like you? Do you have to be so unconfident? But Yanran is really much better than me. My grades are worse than hers. It's like heaven and earth. What's the use of just having a face? She looks at my face like it's Guan Yu. I can't attract her at all. This is what I want to say to you. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep swaying like this? You're a prince who came to the human world to gain experience. You have to learn something. I'm not cut out for learning. If you insist on making me learn, won't that be asking for my life? Between your goddess and your grades, you have to choose one. Otherwise, do you think you can catch up with Yanran? I'm not trying to discourage you, but Yanran is such an excellent girl. It's hard to find someone like her. She's so good to you. Don't embarrass her. I know, Brother Lu. I'll think about it again. Xiao Xiao lay back on the bed dejectedly. Lu Hui was right. What should he do? It wasn't that easy to catch up with Yanran. After a while, he got up for the first time and took out his books to study. No matter what, the last place in the grade couldn't be with the first place in the grade. He first set a small goal for himself. He must get into the 300th place. Chapter 43. Xiao Xiao remembered that Yanran had once told him that anyone who cultivated would definitely have good results. This was because cultivators would use a bit of their spiritual energy in their minds. That way, it would be like using cheats, and learning anything would be very easy. Xiao Xiao had not grasped this trick yet, but it first gave him a bit of confidence. Usually, whether it was dancing, singing, or sports, he was better than others. First, he had talent. Second, if he added a bit of demonic energy, he would simply be an existence that surpassed humans. Xiao Xiao was stimulated by Yanran and was determined to catch up with his results. Sharpening a knife would not delay the work of cutting firewood. Xiao Xiao remembered that there was a cultivation book in his precious secret room. At that time, he could not understand it no matter how hard he tried, so he threw it to the side. Now, it seemed that he should take it out and study it again. He looked at the words on it, but he did not know which country it was from. He looked at it for a long time, and the words that were like twisting tadpoles were finally coiled around. Haha, it's actually the world's #1 spirit art. He remembered that when he was in the demon realm, he had heard his aunt say that there was an extremely useful book called the world's #1 spirit art. It was a secret manual for cultivators to pass through. Learning this world's #1 spirit art was like a literary star descending to Earth, or a martial star reincarnating. It was as if he had discovered a new continent, and the spirit of exploration and adventure took over his brain. At this time, he was no longer sleepy, and did not let his imagination run wild. He focused on studying this spirit art. Slowly, he immersed himself in it. The tadpole-like words inside disturbed his mind, and hooked his soul into the book. The tadpoles wrapped around his heart, crawled into his head, and found a gap to burrow in. They found a small palace in his head, and leisurely settled down. Xiao Xiao felt a bit dizzy when the tadpoles invaded his head. He tried his best to draw in the surrounding spiritual energy to help protect his body and cultivate. It was as if his entire body was immersed in a black fog. These tadpoles were planted in his brain and slowly grew up, settling down, and becoming tadpoles with outstanding memories. Throughout the night, wave after wave of spiritual energy rushed into Xiao Zhao's room. Combined with the movement of the tadpoles in his body, it drilled through all the blocked meridians in his brain. He also felt that there were tens of thousands of tadpoles crawling in his brain. He was a little afraid. Could it be the same as last time, the result of the goo worm? But he didn't have time to think about it. These tadpole words had already made him unable to resist. Gradually he fell asleep. The tadpoles consumed his energy very quickly. Soon, his eyelids were about to fight, and even 2 toothpicks couldn't hold them up. He gave up resisting and fell into a deep slumber. The next morning, the alarm clock pulled Xiao Xiao out of bed like countless arms. When he woke up, he felt different. His mind was much clearer. It was as if the clutter in his head had disappeared in an instant. He can even look inside himself. He can see himself. His brain was divided into many small rooms. At this time, different tadpole words stopped in the small rooms. Wow, this feeling is wonderful. With this brand new brain, Xiao Xiao walked to school. He found that there was a magical change. What people did he see on the way? What scenery did he see? How many times did the traffic light flash? As long as he wanted to recall, he would definitely be able to recall. He looked inside the room at the side of his brain. As soon as he entered, he found that the things that happened in the morning were constantly replaying on loop. Cool. Class started. The sleepiness of the past didn't come as scheduled. The words that the teacher was speaking on the stage, and the words on the blackboard were magically moved into another room. At this time, if Xiao Xiao was asked to repeat the content of the teacher's class, he could directly open the door in the room and read it out. He's using a cheat. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but look up to the sky and laugh. The little black bun on his head was already excitedly dancing. Yanran finally came to school today. Xiao Xiao excitedly sent out a stream of devil energy to disturb the little purple bun on Yanran's head. Yanran turned around and looked at his beaming expression. She asked indifferently, "What's wrong?" Xiao Xiao whispered to Yanran, as if he was presenting a treasure. "I found a way to use devil energy to study." His eyes were shining like the stars in the sky. Yanran's eyes burst into a smile. "Great, I told you. There's no way you can't do it." Xiao Xiao had confidence in his future again. The original sense of inferiority disappeared. For the first time, he took the initiative to pick up a book and began to flip through it from beginning to end. Every word in the book that he originally found boring now looked like tadpoles that echoed with the tadpoles in his brain. It was as if the tadpoles in his brain waved their hands, and the tadpoles in the book crawled into his exclusive room. They found a place to sit upright and waited for their master's inspection. Xiao Xiao put all the books he was reading into his brain in one breath. Then the first thing he did after school was not to play, but to rush to the bookstore. In the bookstore, he started flipping through junior high school books until the bookstore closed. In fact, he wasn't reading books. He was just putting all the content into his brain and putting it into his own room. When he went to bed at night, he saw the tadpoles in these rooms start to visit each other and greet each other. In this process, they got to know each other and became very good friends. Naturally, the knowledge of each subject was gradually becoming more and more integrated. When he woke up the next morning, the book he read yesterday had firmly taken root in his brain. Yanran was right. As long as a cultivator opened up the meridians in their brain, there was nothing they couldn't remember. Xiao Xiao could foresee his future. He was about to go from a bad student to a top student. Everyone noticed that Xiao Xiao had changed. Originally, Xiao Xiao was the one who loved to play the most. As long as school was over, he could be seen on campus. He was either dancing, playing basketball, or playing with other students. But recently, Xiao Xiao had not stayed on campus after school for 2 consecutive months. Did you know? Brother Qiao has changed. Now he runs to the bookstore after school. Ma Xiaoxian started his little broadcast again. It was mysterious, as if this news was his exclusive news. I once met Brother Qiao in the bookstore. My jaw dropped. Zhang Deong added, "This is a good thing. Originally, Brother Qiao's grades were not good. Now he knows how to work hard. When Jing happily raised her eyebrows and said, "Is he really studying in the bookstore? Or is he reading some random books?" Jiaqi also curiously came over and muttered, "He's really reading books. The last time I went, I found him reading junior high school books." Zhang Diang guaranteed. Brother Qiao's junior high school foundation was not solid, so now he knows how to work hard. Wow, what reason do we have not to work hard? Brother Qiao is already so outstanding. If his grades get better, wouldn't he leave us in the dust? Jiaqi enviously said, Yes. I have to hurry up and study. The midterm exam is coming soon. Time flies." Ever since Qiao Xiao was obsessed with studying, he put aside his thoughts and worries about Yanran. Yanran was very satisfied with his current state. Boys should be like this. They should put their career first. However, Qiao Xiao was not completely focused on his career. He just integrated all the knowledge in his brain into a fixed room. His other thoughts would not rest. Every few days, he would bring some small gifts for Yanran. At first, Yanran thought it was a gift from a young girl and gave it to her. However, Qiao Xiao repeatedly assured her that he chose it himself. Or rather, he made it himself. Yanran felt a little sweet in her heart. Just like that, the midterm exam came quickly. The class was filled with wailing. "Why is the midterm exam so soon? I feel like school started just yesterday. I heard that this midterm exam is a citywide joint exam. It will be very difficult. Isn't that going to be a dead end? I can already foresee my parents' spicy shredded pork." The classroom was filled with wailing. This time, Qiao Xiao was secretly pleased. He would never hate exams as much as he used to. Instead, he was looking forward to seeing how far he could go after such a long period of cultivation. He had already finished reading all the books for junior high school. He had not had time to read the books for senior high school. However, he also listened carefully in class. He was full of confidence for this exam. The exam lasted for 3 days. Qiao Xiao woke up early and put on his school uniform. He unzipped his school uniform and wore a light blue long-sleeved shirt. It was as refreshing as the blue sea. He put his hands into his trouser pockets and put on his sunglasses. No one would believe that he was not a star. Ever since his eyes recovered, he liked light blue. It was the color of the sky and the sea. He liked this feeling of vastness too much. It was like his heart, yearning for freedom, yearning for the blue sky and the sea. This exam continued to be divided into classes according to the previous grades. Qiao Xiao naturally walked into the last classroom that he was familiar with. After this exam, he believed that he would not be here anymore. However, he still liked the atmosphere here. The students here were very united and friendly. It was as if they were a family during the exam. The teachers were the same. They were like kind parents, giving appropriate tolerance when the children made mistakes. He read the newspaper and drank tea. The exam was over just like that. Qiao Xiao found that there were 2 new faces in the exam hall. He smiled and went up to greet them. The 2 children were very happy. They added each other on WeChat and winked at each other. Qiao Xiao was happy. It seemed that they had adapted quickly and had grasped the essence of the last exam hall. He sat in his seat, which was the second row from the back. He scanned every small room in his mind and found that every little tadpole was sitting upright, as if they were also about to take their first big test in their lives. Qiao Xiao smiled with satisfaction. Chapter 44. Today the invigilator was a female teacher. She wore a pair of high heels and walked into the classroom with the test papers. The female teacher smiled because this was the easiest place to invigilate. She was too lazy to talk about the rules of the examination room. She directly said, "The rules of the examination room will be announced on the radio later. Everyone pay attention." Soon the math papers were handed out. Then, the female teacher made a cup of tea and began to read the newspaper. The students below were surging with emotions. After roughly looking at the papers, they knew their own standards. All kinds of methods were used. Some of them quietly rolled up their sleeves to reveal formulas written on their arms. Some of them secretly took out their phones and glanced at them when the teacher wasn't paying attention. There was also a girl who took out a small piece of paper from an unknown part of her body. At first glance, it was obvious that she had prepared a cheat sheet in advance. Xiao Xiao was not anxious at all. He looked at the papers. He seemed to have seen most of the questions before. He could not help but curse in his heart. These teachers were too lazy. The questions were not changed. They were all things that he had seen in the guidance books. They only changed the numbers. How could this be called a paper? For the first time, he was surprised that he could challenge the authority of a teacher. However, he was also a little proud. He directly pulled out the memory of that time from his room, changed the numbers, and copied the solution on the paper. He had seen 80% of the questions before. The remaining 20% seemed a little unfamiliar. He looked carefully. It should be the new questions for the first year of high school. He did not have time to look at it. He touched his nose. He did not have time to look at it. You can't blame me. If I don't know, then I don't know. I estimated that I got 80% of the marks. He was happily copying when suddenly, a small note fell on his paper. It was the new student. He was really finding ways to curry favor with the school hunk that he admired. Xiao Xiao opened it, and could not help but have a headache. Out of the 10 single-choice questions, only 2 were correct. The answers for the rest were different from his. Xiao Xiao was hesitating whether to help him change it. He looked at the other students. They were either looking forward to it, or doing all kinds of tricks. In short, they were not looking at the paper seriously. He was somewhat resigned to his fate. Forget it, I'll save you guys this once. He corrected a few of the wrong questions, and then passed the note down. This is all that Brother Qiao can do for you. Consider this the last benefit I'll give you in this examination hall. Mathematics ended in such an atmosphere. After the lunch break, it was time for the Chinese exam in the afternoon. This time, the school had adjusted the order of the exams and scheduled the language exam in the afternoon. When it was announced, everyone wailed. Anyway, Xiao Xiao didn't care. It didn't affect him at all. However, he was a little nervous about the language exam. He definitely had no problems with basic vocabulary questions, but for the reading and composition questions, he didn't know if the spiritual spells he had learned would be useful. Those questions were very flexible, just as he had expected. After the paper was handed out, she didn't even think about the questions in front of her, and directly flipped through the book to copy the answers. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. She finished all the answers in 20 minutes. When it came to reading, he started to get stuck. The basic questions in the reading questions were not difficult for him. But the general analysis, how should he do these questions? His memory bank was filled with reading questions, but there was no mention of this article. Xiao Xiao thought to herself, this bullsh asterisk T-spirit technique isn't that powerful. Could it be fake? The little tadpoles seemed to have heard his thoughts. They suddenly jumped up and looked very angry. They started to look at each other. Xiao Xiao saw that they were busy in his mind. Soon these little tadpoles automatically scattered and regrouped. In a room in Xiao Xiao's mind, a model essay that was exactly the same as the one on his exam paper suddenly appeared. Damn, this works too. Awesome. At this moment, the little tadpoles raised their heads high. It was as if they were saying that they weren't some bullsh asterisk T spiritual spell. They were the strongest in the world. There was nothing they couldn't do. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Xiao was delighted. I'm really impressed by you guys. Xiao Xiao was in a good mood as he copied the answers. He now had a smart robot in his mind. Not only could it copy the answers mechanically, it could also adjust according to the situation. It was really too cool. After the reading was done, it was time for the composition. The word count for the composition had always been a headache for him. 800 words. How long would it take? However, he had a lot of time today. He looked at the composition question. It was a paragraph of ancient prose. Damn. Just looking at it gave him a headache. There shouldn't be any ready-made composition that he could copy. He looked around in his mind, and really found an identical ancient prose. There was a translation at the bottom. Xiao Xiao took a closer look. Oh, so it was about trust. She used an ancient example to write about the theme of trust. The little tadpoles in his mind had learned their lesson. They didn't need Xiao Xiao to take the initiative to ask them. They listed all the examples of trust that Xiao Xiao had seen before. Xiao Xiao thought for a while, and the overall framework was formed. It wasn't that he didn't know how to write the composition before. It was just that he didn't have the content to fill in. Now that the framework was set, all he had to do was to write examples. This exam was the easiest one in history. Xiao Xiao was relieved. It was as if a big stone had been lifted from his heart. He also knew his shortcomings. Because he read too few books, he didn't have much stock in his mind. It seemed that he had to go to the bookstore in the afternoon. Xiao Xiao handed in the paper half an hour early. When he left the classroom, he turned back and looked at the other people in the classroom with sympathy. However, he found that the other students in the examination room were also looking at him with sympathy. He touched his nose and waved his hand. The next day, the female teacher was invigilating the English exam. It was the same scenery, but a different feeling. After a day of testing, Xiao Xiao already had a card up her sleeve. More importantly, yesterday afternoon, he crammed in the bookstore to study the English questions from junior high to senior high and the textbooks. He found that learning English was quite easy, especially the exam questions. He repeated the same word many times. Even the little tadpoles in his mind started to doze off. The repetitive memory was too boring. As soon as he arrived at the examination room, someone greeted Xiao Xiao. "Brother Xiao, today's the exam. You won't sleep again, right? I still remember that your feet last time caused a sensation in the whole school." Xiao Xiao also remembered. He smiled happily in his heart. Last time was an accident. Let's see how your brother Xiao will make history today. "Brother Xiao, I heard that you've been working very hard recently. You go to the bookstore right after school. There's beauty in the book, and there's a house of gold in the book." The little tadpoles in Xiao Xiao's mind were swinging leisurely. They weren't nervous about the upcoming exam at all. First, the listening test. Xiao Xiao put on the heavy headphones and felt that he was in a recording studio. He was still a little worried about the listening test, because he was reading paper books. He didn't put the audio into his brain. But he was relieved soon. Even if his listening wasn't good, he should at least score 70 or 80 points. Recently, he also found that there was a particularly big benefit. Previously, he couldn't control his devil energy, but after practicing the world's #1 spiritual art, it seemed to have eased a lot. The last time he fell asleep during the English exam, it was because the devil energy challenged him and caused him to recover. But this time, the devil energy in his body was soothed and peaceful. It seemed to have entered a virtuous cycle. It really was the world's #1 spiritual art. Xiao Xiao thought about it and started the listening test. A conversation sounded in his ears. His mind immediately corresponded to the original question in a certain room. He didn't have to worry at all. The little tadpoles were automatically prepared. It was as if he had his own exam system. Ha ha ha. He really wanted to look up to the sky and laugh 3 times. The days of being a top student were really good. He was even faster in the English exam. Except for the last essay, which was a little difficult to copy, because the little tadpoles had already written a model essay. But his foundation wasn't solid enough. The English words B and D, C and E were easy to misread. Xiao Xiao kept misspelling the words as he copied. When he finally finished copying, he looked at his essay that had been changed beyond recognition. He was a little embarrassed. Just like that, the 2 days of exams were over. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The whole class was discussing how to relax. Maybe they could group up and play a game. Xiao Xiao was also dragged along to play for more than 2 hours. But the more he played, the more bored he became. He suddenly felt that some of the settings in the game were really stupid. It wasn't as interesting as the knowledge he read in the bookstore. Previously, he read a book on game design. It was very detailed on how to make a game. He was like a designer behind the scenes. He was more obsessed with how to design the game than how to experience the game. After playing for a while, he said goodbye to everyone and went straight to the bookstore. He wanted to see how the game he was playing was designed. "Hi, Xiao Xiao." Xiao Xiao was engrossed in the game encyclopedia. Suddenly, he felt a pat on his shoulder. He looked back. It was Yanran. Yanran was wearing a neat school uniform. She was holding a book in her hand. Xiao Xiao was very happy. Yinran, you're here to read too. I've been here every day recently. Then this is for you. Yinran handed him a thick Java language book. What is this? Xiao Xiao asked as he flipped through the book. Aren't you interested in computer games? This is a basic advanced book. How did you know I'm interested in this? Xiao Xiao's eyes sparkled. He looked at Yinran with a surprised expression. Uncle Wu told me. He said you've improved a lot recently. You've been reading books when you go home. Xiao Xiao scratched his head embarrassedly. Yinran, I realized that I've been enlightened too late. I just realized that reading books is really interesting. Even my demonic aura has calmed down a lot. I know you're the best. Yinran's eyes were shining. She had a look of admiration. This light immediately shone into Xiao Xiao's heart. It was as if she was encouraging him to open a path to a bright future. Xiao Xiao's heart surged. What could make him happier than Yinran's affirmation? Yinran, let me treat you to a meal. I haven't eaten with you in a long time. Chapter 45. Xiao Xiao took a taxi with Yinran to a very famous Japanese restaurant. Since the last time the two parted ways at the hospital, they had not really been alone together. Since Xiao Xiao was obsessed with learning, he no longer thought about nonsense all day. Yinran was very satisfied with Xiao Xiao's performance during this period of time. Before, Xiao Xiao always looked like a playboy. Other than making girls happy and acting handsome all day, he basically did nothing serious. Now seeing that Xiao Xiao was willing to take the initiative to learn, it really made her very happy. During this period of time, she was very busy. After class, she had to deal with the matters of the cultivation world. She originally thought that Xiao Xiao would shamelessly pester her like before, but she did not expect this guy to suddenly seem to have grown up, become mature, and become the person she liked more. Xiao Xiao was never stingy with Yinran. He specifically picked the most expensive dishes. When the dishes were on the table, a long strip was placed full. Xiao Xiao's thoughts were always so obvious in front of Yinran. He would always bring all the things he thought were the best in front of her. Yinran's heart was very happy. Although she had developed a cold temperament, she was also a girl, and also hoped that someone would spoil her. Xiao Xiao satisfied all her fantasies about boys. The two of them ate happily, and the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. Xiao Xiao constantly helped Yinran to deal with the difficult food. Watching her eat the food that he had prepared, his heart was very satisfied. Little black bun on top of Xiao Xiao's head could not look anymore. He covered his face. Why was his master so flattering? Maybe it was because it was the first time he liked someone, so he wanted to leave all the good things to her. Little purple bun proudly crossed his legs and swayed back and forth on top of Yinran's head. The two little buns glared at each other and turned their heads away. Warmth flowed between the two of them. There was always a trace of tacit understanding. Needless to say, this faintly discernible feeling was the most beautiful meeting in the world. Yinran. A probing voice sounded from behind. The smile on Yinran's face did not fade. She turned to look behind her. Huagang, is that you? Yinran regained her cool voice. Yinran, it's really you. I thought I was mistaken. Huagang walked up to him in surprise. I was having a meal here with two of my classmates. I didn't expect to bump into you. It's really fate. Ever since Huagang finished his mission, he was sent to another mission. He hadn't seen Yinran for a long time. Today, he was pleasantly surprised to see her here. Xiao Xiao looked at this uninvited guest. The expression on his face was too obvious. Damn Yinran's pursuer. He didn't come with good intentions. He immediately raised all the thorns on his body. This was a male animal's demonstration of its territory. Yinran's expression was cold and indifferent. She didn't bring the surprise of fate that Huagang had described. She smiled slightly and said, I have friends here. At this moment, Huagang seemed to realize that there was someone sitting across from Yinran. He reluctantly moved his gaze away from Yinran's face and turned to look at Xiao Xiao. What he saw was incredible. Huagang's expression immediately changed. He looked like he was going to rush up and tear Xiao Xiao to pieces. You actually. Yinran grabbed Huagang's impulsive body and said to him, This is my classmate. But look at the top of his head. Before he could finish speaking, Yinran's cold eyes stopped him. Huagang also realized that he had lost his composure. However, he was really shocked when he saw the devil aura above Xiao Zhao's head. Yinran immediately said, "Huagang, don't you have friends over there? You go and eat first." Huagang's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. Why was this person eating with Yinran? Moreover, he was a heinous villain. Could it be that Yinran was carrying out another mission? He stared at Xiao Xiao. At this moment, he realized that apart from the devil aura, this person was really handsome. He was even more handsome than the stars on TV. His skin was fair. His facial features were distinct. His eyes were devilishly charming, and his lips were rosy. Every part of him was so exquisite. Looking at his clothes, every crease was so exquisite. Because Xiao Xiao was sitting in the chair, Huagang couldn't tell his height. However, from his lazy sitting posture and his long legs, it could be seen that this person was definitely not short. Huagang had always boasted of being handsome, but in front of this person, they were not on the same level at all. Huagang's heart was alarmed. This person's eyes were very unfriendly. However, when he looked at Yinran, his eyes were filled with all the gentleness in the world. Huagang reluctantly returned to his seat. Only then did he realize that he and the boy were facing each other, while Yinran's back was facing him. From time to time, he raised his head to look at the situation opposite him, and found that Yinran and the boy had begun to talk and laugh again. Xiao Xiao poured a drink for Yinran and asked casually, "Who was that just now? He also has white energy above his head. Is he also a cultivator?" "Yes, he's in the same group as us. We went on a mission together last time." "Oh, what a coincidence. Did you two just meet?" Xiao Xiao picked up another piece of fish and placed it in Yinran's bowl. "No, we've known each other for a long time. Both their families and ours are cultivators." When Xiao Xiao heard this, he immediately concluded sourly, "Childhood sweethearts. I guess so. However, when we were young, everyone was busy cultivating. We didn't have much contact." When Xiao Xiao heard this, he felt a little better. "How are you going to explain to him about the demonic energy above my head?" "I'll explain it to him." Xiao Xiao didn't ask any more questions, and Yinran didn't say any more either. Because of Huagang's interruption, Yinran was somewhat absent-minded. After the two of them finished eating, they went straight home. As soon as they got home, Huagang's phone call came as scheduled. "Yinran, tell me the truth. Who is that person? Is he your classmate?" Huagang was so anxious that he couldn't wait to rush to Yinran. "He is my classmate." Yinran's attitude was very calm, like a pool of clear water, without the slightest fluctuation. "Then why does he have such a large amount of demonic energy above his head? He's also a cultivator. The demonic energy above his head isn't what you think it is. It's because of his body." "How is that possible? You're not lying to me? Why are you eating with him?" Huagang was still very anxious. It's normal for classmates to have a meal together. Yinran's words didn't contain any ripples. "But he's a male classmate." Yinran was surprised. What's wrong with being a male classmate? When Huagang heard this, he took a deep breath and summoned his courage. "Then are you willing to eat with me? Don't we often eat together?" Yinran still replied calmly. "How can it be the same? When the two of us eat, there are several people around. I'm saying that I'll treat you to a meal alone. Are you willing?" Huagang carefully explained, his heart carrying a trace of expectation and desire. "Do you have something you want to talk to me about? If you want to talk about work, you can just say it at the meeting next week." Yinran's reply was merciless. "You clearly know that's not what I meant. Yinran, we grew up together. You're not willing to give me this opportunity." Huagang's voice was somewhat low. Yinran frowned. "What are you talking about? We're colleagues. What opportunity?" Yinran then said, "Don't tell anyone about my classmate. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." After saying this, Yinran directly hung up the phone. She felt that there was nothing to explain to Huagang. In this world, there weren't many people who could arouse her emotions. Huagang wasn't one of them. But Huagang's emotions couldn't be calmed down. Today at the restaurant, Yinran's smile stung his eyes. Except for the innocence of childhood, Yinran seemed to have never smiled so happily since she became sensible. What kind of magic did this boy have to be able to attract Yinran's heart? Could it be that they were really classmates? For some reason, Hua Gang went to Nanchuan High School's website. The forum was bustling with activity. Hanging at the top was the news and photos of Yanran winning an international award. In this news post, Yanran's face was still indifferent. This was the Yanran that Hua Gang knew. Cold and mature, calm and collected. He continued to browse through the posts in the Tieba. Soon, he had a deep understanding of Xiao Xiao. Every once in a while, Xiao Xiao's news would be pinned at the top of the Tieba. Hua Gang effortlessly understood everything about Xiao Xiao in school. Looking at his godlike face, looking at his free and unrestrained dance moves, looking at the commotion he caused in school when he fell asleep during an exam, and then looking at him again. Under every piece of news, there were hundreds of articles. He understood. He was the school hunk of Nanchuan High School, Xiao Xiao. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be victorious in 100 battles. Hua Gang looked at his junior, who was 2 years younger than him. A cynical smile was always on his face, and his figure and dancing were comparable to that of a celebrity. The picture on his computer was of him with his sunglasses slightly lowered. From behind the sunglasses, a pair of charming eyes could be seen, cunningly half-closed. A pair of thin lips were pursed, and he was making a flying kiss gesture. This picture was voted as the most attractive picture of the school hunk by the entire school. Xiao Zhao's eyes revealed a kind of conceit and pride, as well as an insufferably perfect look. Looking at this pair of eyes, Hua Gang's heart felt like it was being pressed by a huge rock, and he was a little breathless. Would Yanran like this face? He walked in front of the mirror and looked at his face. Although his standard square face was handsome and stylish, it was too rigid. Could it be that men only rely on their faces? Hua Gang shot out a sword aura from his finger. With a casual point of his finger, a flower on the table quickly withered. As a cultivator, the higher the spiritual energy, the greater the ability. He believed that Xiao Xiao was not his opponent in this aspect. Although the black aura above Xiao Zhao's head was thick and abundant, and was comparable to his, it was still black aura. Hua Gang did not dare to believe Yanran's explanation. In the cultivation world, this was unimaginable. He had never encountered such a situation before. His father also did not tell him that the aura above a cultivator's head would turn black. The seed of doubt slowly sprouted in Hua Gang's heart, gradually growing. The branches slowly coiled into his heart, tightening more and more, as if they were going to squeeze out blood. And at this time, a drop of blood that had been hibernating in his body became restless because of some kind of malice. Chapter 46. Soon, it was time for the midterm exam results to come out. This morning, Xiao Xiao felt as though he was waiting for his first love. He was somewhat expectant and somewhat worried. This was his first exam after learning spirit arts, so the results were very important to him. He wanted to know what heights his hard work would reach during this period of time. The moment he entered the class, everyone was enthusiastically discussing and looking forward to the results. The results will be out soon. I saw that the teacher has already sorted out the papers and is walking over here. Ma Xiaoxian rushed into the classroom and announced loudly. This little loudspeaker always liked to eavesdrop on the teachers. Heavens, the results are coming out. I don't want to live anymore. Someone was already wailing. Are you sure your results aren't good? Of course not. I didn't even answer 2 of the major questions. This exam is too difficult. Me too. You aren't fighting alone. The difficulty of this exam has surpassed the hardest midterm exam in Nanchuan's history. At this time, no one would ask how Xiao Xiao did. They already knew that this handsome school hunk's results were indescribable. It was also at this time that the school hunk's image in their hearts took a nosedive. On the other hand, Xiao Xiao was very calm this time. The little black bun on top of her head was round and round. She looked left and right, and looked down at everyone with a look of disdain. Xiao Xiao didn't say anything. He lazily leaned back in his chair and swayed back and forth. He looked at everyone in the classroom and waited for the teacher's final judgment. As the steady footsteps approached the podium, Teacher Zhu walked in with a large pile of papers in his arms. He had a smile on his face. Look at old Zhu's happy face. It seems that our class did well this time. Old Zhu usually has this expression. There's no smile on his face. You're just comforting yourself. Soon, Miss Zhu looked at everyone with a smile like a spring breeze. Students, in this exam, our class's average score went up by 2 percentage points. We took back the first place in our grade. Wow, this sentence made the students boil. It seems that we did well. Quiet, quiet. However, the most important contribution this time is that student Yinran still maintained the first place in the grade. Wow, that's great. Yinran has always been great. Of course, those who have won international awards are definitely top students. There's also a student named Xiao Xiao. He rose from the bottom to the top 100. Our class's average score was actually raised by him alone. Puff, everyone was taken aback. Wow, Brother Xiao is amazing. This counterattack was simply heavenly. From the last place in the class to the top 100 of the year. This was simply too cool. Everyone looked at Xiao Xiao with admiration. Xiao Xiao rubbed his nose. It was similar to what he had expected, but he thought it would be better. However, the little tadpoles in their minds were somewhat unconvinced. They were messing around in every room. In their eyes, being in the top 100 of their grade was a disgrace. To them, the #1 spirit spell master in the world must be ours. Next, let's invite Xiao Xiao to come up on stage to share his learning experience. Puff, Xiao Xiao did not expect this move. What could he say? Could it be that he used a cheat? He rubbed his nose and stood up. His tall and handsome back was very straight. He walked up to the podium lazily with moderate steps. First, he used his 10 fingers to give a military salute to everyone. Sorry, I used a little more strength this time. Everyone below burst into laughter. Xiao Xiao saw the little purple bun on Yinran's head, and laughed as he rolled on top of Yinran's head. Speaking of exam experience, there's only one thing. Listen carefully in class, and visit the bookstore more after class. I did well this time. It's all thanks to the teacher who found me the best private tutor, student Yinran. The class laughed again. After speaking, Xiao Xiao returned to his seat with a smile. He poked Yinran in front of him. Teacher Yinran, are you satisfied with the results this time? It's all right. It seems like it's still a little lacking. With your standard, if you don't get second place in the grade, you'll be letting me down. Xiao Xiao gritted his teeth. This Bingshan Yin did not know how to praise him. Have you read the book I gave you? I've read it. I've already memorized everything. This book is too good. I've already started to follow the book and slowly learn programming. Good. Programming is actually quite difficult. However, I believe that your brain is enough. Yinran looked at Xiao Xiao and winked at him. Xiao Xiao's heart rippled from this wink. His heart was filled with strength. He would definitely not disappoint Yinran. As soon as he returned home, he found Uncle Wu. Uncle Wu, I want to learn programming now. Can you help me find a teacher? This was the first time he heard Xiao Xiao make such a request. Uncle Wu simply cried. The child had finally grown up. Okay. Young master, I'll definitely help you find the best teacher. In the following period of time, Xiao Xiao, other than going to school, spent his time in the library and bookstore. He crazily absorbed all the knowledge he could find in this world. The little tadpoles were very excited. Every day, they ate until they were full and their stomachs were round. Then they began to rapidly grow, expanding Xiao Xiao's brain cells. And the more books Xiao Xiao read, the more he found that his knowledge was shallow. Before, he only cared about playing, and did not understand the rules of this society. But now, he could even understand the philosophy of governing a country. As the crown prince of the demon realm, no matter how much influence he still had some experience in governing a country. In the past, when he followed his father and those ministers, he had also heard about the suffering of the common people and the principles of governing a country. However, he did not fully understand them. And now, the governing of a country in the human world aroused his great interest. Although the systematic theory books were obscure and difficult to understand, after the little tadpoles in his brain processed them, he understood them with a little bit. Xiao Xiao was extremely busy now. He did not have enough time every day. Programming, learning how to govern a country, absorbing all kinds of knowledge, even including makeup, dressing up, walking, talking, street dancing, singing, writing lyrics, and composing music. He was growing rapidly in all aspects. The game had long been thrown aside by him. His goal was no longer to be first in the grade, or second in the grade. His goal had long been to see the peak of the human world. The reputation of the school hunk became even more popular in school. Gradually, he changed from relying on his face to relying on his talent and strength. With each exam, Xiao Xiao became more and more powerful. He faintly had the momentum to catch up with Yanran. By the end of the first year of high school, he was already firmly in the top 50 of the grade. The school hunk deserved his name. He was good-looking, talented. In Nanchuan High School, he had become a godlike existence. Brother Qiao, where are you going to play during the summer vacation? Today was the last day of school. Soon, they would usher in the long-awaited summer vacation. The young and restless hearts could never resist the attraction of the world to them. I haven't decided yet. Let's study. Wow, Brother Qiao, don't work too hard now. You are already in the top 50 of the grade. Can't you leave us a way out? How can I succeed if I don't work hard? How about we go read books together during the summer vacation? Brother Qiao, you have changed. You used to take us to play games together. Ma Xiaoxian felt wronged. I told you a long time ago. Studying is much more fun than playing games. Xiao Xiao really thought so. I don't understand the world of a top student. Brother Qiao, I will definitely be there when you are forming a group. Okay, I'll call you in the group. I'll be leaving first. Xiao Xiao saw that Yanran had already walked out of the classroom with her bag. He chased after her in a few steps. Yanran, where are you going during the summer vacation? I'm going to carry out a mission. Xiao Xiao's face fell. Then I won't be able to see you for a long time? Yanran looked at Xiao Xiao's endless listlessness and couldn't help but smile. Yes. Then remember to pick up my calls and reply to my WeChat, okay? I'm going to participate in a competition during the summer vacation. I remember Uncle Wu said that you also have several competitions to participate in, right? Yes. Uncle Wu helped me sign up for a programming competition and some other random competitions. Then you're also very busy. Good luck. I'll wait for your good results. After saying that, Yanran waved her hand and left Xiao Xiao with her back to him. Xiao Xiao didn't show any expression, but the little black bun on top of his head reached out a hand, wanting to pull Yanran back. The desire in his heart was obvious. Xiao Xiao suddenly waved his hand, grabbed his hair, threw his bag over his shoulder, and continued his daily mission, heading towards the bookstore. He was indeed very busy. This summer vacation he had an important competition. It was a national programming competition. This was also the first time he would be able to test the results of his studies. He had read a lot of theoretical books. The teacher that Uncle Wu hired for him was also very good, teaching him a lot of practical things. He could also write some small programs, but it seemed that he had reached a bottleneck and couldn't break through. Whenever he encountered a large-scale game, he would start to feel a little confused. He was like a little ant looking for its home. There were a dozen paths, but he just couldn't find the right one. However, that was because he had high expectations for himself. It was impossible for him to complete a large-scale game alone. This was also the most frustrating part for the little tadpoles in his brain. There seemed to be a few channels in his brain that were blocked, and the tadpoles couldn't reach the room. So now Xiao Xiao could only store the books in his brain, but the interconnection was still not complete. This time he was participating in a national programming competition for young people, commonly known as the Information Science Olympiad. It was organized by the National Computer Society. Although the Information Science Olympiad wasn't organized by the government, its social status wasn't any lower than other competitions. There was a saying in the programming world that this was the most successful competition in the country, recognized by all levels of schools. In many people's eyes, although information science was a personal activity, it had always been tightly organized, and there was no possibility of cheating. It had already been recognized by the whole society. There were even experts who said that the Information Science Olympiad was very valuable, even more so than the National Youth Technology Innovation Competition. This was the first competition that Uncle Wu and his programming teacher had carefully selected for him. Chapter 47. The programming competition was held in Xining City. Originally, Uncle Wu wanted to go with him. After the last winter vacation, he was worried that something would happen to him and Lu Hui when they went on vacation. However, Xiao Xiao said that he could go by himself when he grew up. The teacher would also go with him. He told Uncle Wu to rest at home. Uncle Wu looked at Xiao Xiao with gratification. His heart surged with the feeling of having a child who had just grown up. He repeatedly told him to send a message every day to let him know that he was safe, and to call him often. Uncle Wu sent Xiao Xiao and the teacher to the plane. The plane flew into the sky and away from his worries. This annual Information Science Olympiad attracted the best programming talents from all over the country. Xiao Xiao's hotel was right next to the competition venue. Fortunately, he booked it early. Otherwise, it would have been sold out. According to the hotel's front desk, all the hotels within a 5-kilometer radius were fully booked. Today, when he checked in, he saw a few people return angrily. It seemed that this competition was indeed, as the teacher said, attracting the attention of technology enthusiasts all over the country. Xiao Xiao had countless birds singing in his heart. He liked this kind of occasion. The competition made his blood boil. The official competition was 3 days later. The teacher asked him to come a few days earlier. First, to adapt to the environment. Second, there was a robot exhibition here. The teacher hoped that Xiao Xiao could go and take a look. When Xiao Xiao arrived, it was already night time. After checking into the hotel, he didn't speak for the whole night. The next day he woke up early. The robot exhibition was said to be a very attractive technology exhibition in China. It attracted all kinds of high-tech companies and talents. It was said that the top domestic giants would also launch their new products. Xiao Xiao and the teacher took a taxi to the exhibition venue early in the morning. The teacher's surname was He. He was a famous computer science professor at Nanchuan University. When Uncle Wu found him, he was very surprised. Being a private tutor for a high school student had been his job for many years. He didn't expect that Uncle Wu would bring him a work made by Xiao Xiao. It was a bit like an airplane battle, but more flexible and creative. It added a lot of changes in the air. It was 100 times better than the original classic airplane battle. Professor He's interest was instantly piqued. He could see Xiao Xiao's talent from her performance. He didn't even need Uncle Wu to say anything else before he decided to accept her as his student. In the past few months of teaching Xiao Xiao, although it wasn't a long time, he realized that Xiao Xiao's learning ability was too terrifying. He could finish reading a thick programming book in 1 to 2 nights, and he could explain it clearly and logically. Some things that he didn't understand could be completely understood with just a little guidance. He was simply a genius. He even felt that Xiao Xiao would soon surpass him. The more he looked at this handsome young man, the more he liked him. He could already imagine the rising star of the Huaxia Empire. Typically speaking, it would take at least 4 to 5 years to study programming before one could participate in a national competition like this. However, Professor He had confidence in Xiao Xiao. He had only needed 3 months to convince him to come. They arrived at the entrance of the exhibition hall. It was a national exhibition center in Xining City. The hall was divided into 3 levels. In the wide square in front of the entrance, balloons, banners, and all kinds of large electronic screens flashed continuously. There was an endless stream of technology enthusiasts taking photos at the signage area. There were also many reporters present. Beautiful and handsome men carrying cameras could be seen interviewing passers-by. As soon as Xiao Xiao and the teacher appeared, several reporters recognized them immediately. They didn't recognize Xiao Xiao, but recognized Professor He. Soon after, a group of people rushed over to Professor He. Xiao Xiao finally realized that Professor He was one of the leading figures in the Huaxia Empire's computing field. As the reporters interviewed, Xiao Xiao gradually stepped back to allow all the cameras to be on Professor He. However, as a natural light source, he couldn't escape being tracked by the cameras. Countless cameras were aimed at him. They were originally just street shots, but after hearing Professor He's introduction, all the microphones were put in front of him. "Handsome man, we heard that you're Professor He's proud student. May we ask if you will be participating in the Olympiad in a few days?" Xiao Xiao wasn't nervous in front of the cameras at all. He put on his most charming smile and said to the beautiful and handsome reporters, "Thank you, Professor He, for giving me this opportunity. I'll be sure to participate in the Olympiad in 3 days. I'll try my best not to embarrass him and bring home an award." "Wow, you're so confident. May we ask how long you've been studying with Professor He?" 3 months, I think." He's already so confident after only 3 months. "Professor He, this student of yours is not a simple character. Don't underestimate him. 3 months for him is equivalent to 3 years for others. This is his first time participating in a competition. Please take good care of him." With Professor He's support, Xiao Xiao instantly made the headlines. Because the robot exhibition was being streamed live online, the reporters' interviews were also broadcasted in real time. Unexpectedly, it caused a sensation and immediately made it to the top 10 headlines on Weibo. Professor He's last student is both good-looking and capable. Xiao Xiao's looks were comparable to an idol's. His body was comparable to a celebrity's. And his talent was supported by Professor He. His popularity instantly skyrocketed online. Peach tea. Wow, what kind of godlike looks is this? Is he a new celebrity? Shocked to the core. Why not join the entertainment industry? Why must you join the robotics industry? Flying in June. Are you looking down on the entertainment industry? King of territorial domination. We strongly urge our little brother to join the entertainment industry. We'll make sure you become a top celebrity. Waiting to become a Buddha. We'll witness your capabilities in 3 days. Of course, there were also plenty of haters online. Senior Ape. Look at your face, don't embarrass the IT industry. Big Frog at the bottom of the pit. If you don't get an award in 3 days, get out of the robotics industry. Money everywhere. Our robotics industry is pure beyond compare. We don't need these shady deals for looks. Message in a bottle. Come back and fight me in 3 days if you dare. Xiao Xiao and Professor He were still browsing the exhibition hall when he received a call from Zhang Dayang. Brother Xiao, you're 2F** King Awesome. You're in the headlines on Weibo. I thought you were in the headlines on your school's Tieba. But this time you're in the headlines on Weibo. I'm going to kneel down to you. When did you cheat? You actually went to participate in the robot competition. That's something that only people with high IQ can participate in. As soon as he picked up the phone, he heard Zhang Dayang talking nonstop. Are you saying that your brother Qiao's IQ isn't high enough? Xiao Xiao moved the phone away from his ear. Zhang Dayang's voice was so loud that it hurt his ears. No, Brother Qiao, that's not what I meant. I'm cheering you on behalf of the whole class. Come back with an award in 3 days. Okay, just you wait. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but smile. I'll be waiting for you to speak under the national flag. Zhang Dayang's excitement could be heard over the phone. Xiao Xiao scolded him with a smile. He saw that there were a few missed calls. They were all from people who cared about him when he was on the phone with Zhang Dayang. But Xiao Xiao looked carefully and didn't see a certain someone's number. Forget it, he was used to it. He knew she was busy, and the commotion on Weibo couldn't be hidden. At this time, Hua Gang, who was in Xining City, also saw this Weibo post. At that time, he was leaning back in his chair. When he saw the familiar face, he immediately stood up, as if he had been pricked by a needle. He looked at every word in the news report seriously, and watched the interview video 10 times. It was really unbelievable. This boy was the one who accompanied Yanran to dinner last time. He couldn't be wrong. That roguish smile and provocative eyes had been engraved in his heart. During this period of time, when Yanran was on a mission, she purposely separated the two of them. Hua Gang knew that Yanran was purposely avoiding him. Why? Was it because of this boy? These 2 days, Yanran was on a mission somewhere else, and he simply asked for leave to participate in the competition. Looking at Xiao Zhao's astonishingly handsome smiling face, he gritted his teeth so hard that they shattered. He was also there to participate in the Information Science Olympiad. He was about to start his senior year of high school and had been studying programming since junior high. He thought he had some talent in it. He knew Professor He was very famous in the Huaxia Empire. He had once wanted to be his student, but Professor He had refused to let his family in. F***ck. How did this Xiao Xiao trick Professor He into accepting him as his last student? An indescribable emotion rose in his heart and accelerated the differentiation of a drop of blood in his blood. This drop of blood began to grow on its own and slowly corroded his original blood. Ever since this drop of blood was awakened, it had begun to swim through his body. Now that it had cleared all the meridians in his body and familiarized itself with this body, it began to slowly grow and consume his original blood. Hua Gang looked at Xiao Zhao's smiling face and typed a line under his Weibo. If you are not convinced, come back in 3 days. Xiao Xiao, I brought you to the robot exhibition in the hope that you would be able to learn something from it. Computer programming is actually for the purpose of implementing certain application functions for the benefit of mankind. Some people also say that robots were invented to make humans lazier. However, it's undeniable that during this process of evolution, human technology continued to advance and life became more convenient. The small programs you normally create are all very useful, but they are mainly for gaming. I hope you'll be able to see more changes computer programming can bring to mankind beyond gaming. Professor He was in the middle of earnestly teaching Xiao Xiao when a burst of passionate music suddenly began to play beside them. An extremely large robot appeared on their left and walked towards them on the wide avenue in the middle of the exhibition hall. Wow, Professor, look at this robot. It's so big. This was practically a pillar supporting the heavens. It was a full 8 meters tall. Xiao Xiao and the professor only reached its calves. The robot greeted the people beside it as it walked and repeatedly introduced itself. Hello everyone, I'm Taishan. Many people around them also greeted him happily. Then Taishan continued to ask questions and answer to the people beside him. Xiao Xiao thought this was amazing. He walked up to Taishan and said, "Can I shake your hand?" Taishan replied kindly, "Of course." Then he used his large hands to lift Xiao Xiao up by the waist. Then Xiao Xiao's feet left the ground. Taishan raised him until they were eye level. "Hello, how are you? You're so handsome." Xiao Xiao jumped in fright and almost danced for joy. However, when he met Taishan's eyes at eye level, he couldn't help smiling. Although it was a robot face, it could make all sorts of expressions. At that moment, Taishan's lips were wide open and extended all the way to his ears. It was obvious he was smiling. Chapter 48. Xiao Xiao was put down. He felt that Taishan was very interesting. He continued to ask, "Taishan, can you dance?" Taishan bent down, folded his arms and asked him, "What kind of dance do you want to do?" Xiao Xiao thought for a while and said, "You can dance with me." Taishan nodded and said, "Okay, let's go." Then a piece of explosive hip-hop music came out of his body. Xiao Xiao and Taishan were in the hall, swaying to the music. Taishan was very smart. He danced as Xiao Xiao danced. He was very good at imitating. Xiao Xiao deliberately did a few difficult head-to-head moves. He didn't expect Taishan to be so good. He turned Taishan's body upside down with his head on the ground, making a loud noise. The crowd was shocked. Xiao Xiao stopped and made a gesture of thanks. Taishan also stopped and bowed to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was very happy. He didn't expect this big guy to be so compatible with him. "Taishan, you are so good. Wonderful dance." Xiao Xiao patted Taishan's thigh and praised him generously. The people around them applauded. One of them walked out of the crowd and said to Xiao Xiao, "Your dance is so good. Do you like my Taishan?" Xiao Xiao looked at the man. He was about 50 years old. He was a little bald and his eyes were bright. Xiao Xiao was surprised and asked, "Did you create this robot?" "Yes, it's my masterpiece for many years. Do you like it? It's so cool. How did you do it?" Xiao Xiao was excited as if he had met a confidant. The middle-aged man looked at Xiao Xiao and knew that he was a kindred spirit. He said, "You have good eyesight. Ordinary people can't find these functions of Taishan. I didn't expect you to activate his potential so quickly. Can you tell me how you found out that he can dance? Just now, when he carried me up, I looked into his eyes. His expression was rich, just like a real human's. Furthermore, there were pulleys where his various organs were connected. I guessed that he must know some kind of special movement. I let him dance by accident. Young man, you're very observant. The middle-aged man nodded in appreciation. Professor Wang, you couldn't stand the loneliness and brought your Tarzan out to play? Professor, he walked up to them. Yo, old he, how come you're in the mood to come and play? Xiao Xiao took a look. Oh, so these two know each other, he immediately said to Professor Wang. Professor Wang, it turns out that you and my teacher have known each other for a long time. We're all here to participate in the competition. It's my honor to have the opportunity to admire your robot. Oh, this is your last disciple mentioned on Weibo? Yes, it's not easy to have such an outstanding child. I'm very gratified. I'm so envious of you. My last disciple is my Tarzan. Come, Xiao Xiao, let me introduce you. This is Professor Wang, who's very famous in the field of science and technology. He's the head of scientific research at XX University. Xiao Xiao immediately reached out and shook Professor Wang's hands. He gave a 90-degree bow. I've heard so much about you, Professor Wang. It's my honor to meet you today. Your disciple is smart, has a sweet tongue, and can dance. He's also your last disciple. His future is limitless. Ha 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 ha, he's all right. Professor, he patted Xiao Xiao proudly. Are you still a judge for the competition in 3 days? Professor, he continued to ask. I can't turn down this competition every year. I look forward to your last disciple's outstanding performance. Professor Wang, I have a small suggestion. It's about Tarzan. Xiao Xiao saw that they were almost done chatting, so he interjected. Oh, I'm very happy that someone can give me suggestions for improvement. When Tarzan was performing the last dance move just now, all his weight was on his head. All of his weight was concentrated on the top of his head. From the perspective of dancing, it affected the beauty of the dance and could easily be broken. I once designed a game where when the character flips, all his weight and all his blood is transferred to his feet. This makes his entire body lighter when he flips. I don't know if I can use this on Tarzan. That's a good idea, young man. Can you send me your code to take a look? Of course. Just like that, Xiao Xiao successfully joined Professor Wang's circle of friends. Xiao Xiao and Tarzan's dance was also recorded by the audience and posted online. The organizers of the exhibition saw a ready-made promotional video and posted it on their official website. On one side was Invincible's street dance performance. On the other side was an adorable robot uncle. This was an imitation show by the robot uncle, but the imitation was very accurate. It was amazing. Then someone posted an analysis post online, breaking down Xiao Xiao's dance into a professional explanation. At the same time, it introduced the design principles of the robot and its creator. It also analyzed the difficulty of programming this type of robot. Then it caused a sensation online. It was indeed the leading figure in the Chinese computing field. Professor Wang had invented the newest AI robot that could rapidly imitate human movements and easily communicate with humans without any barriers. The phone line for the order was instantly blown up. The technology exhibition was only a small interlude. The real highlight was the upcoming Information Science Olympiad. The grand opening ceremony of Golden Age attracted everyone's attention. Xiao Xiao and his professor arrived early. There were several humanoid robot dolls at the entrance of the venue taking photos with the audience. To their surprise, there was already a long line at the entrance. Luckily, Professor He was a distinguished VIP. He took Xiao Xiao through the VIP passage. Due to Xiao Xiao's participation this year, Professor He, who had always been a judge, declined the invitation this year. However, Professor He's seat was still in the first 2 rows. As a participant, Xiao Xiao had his own seat. After parting ways with Professor He, Xiao Xiao took his seat in the contestants' area. This time, they were playing in a stadium surrounded by a ring of spectator stands. The real competition venue was on the flat ground in the middle. The area in the middle was almost the size of a football field. There were several stages set up there, the most important being the rostrum. A long trophy was placed horizontally on the rostrum. It sparkled with gold and gave the audience a sense of honor. At that moment, the large screen on the wall behind the rostrum continuously played highlights from the Information Science Olympiads from previous years. The passionate music in the venue livened up the atmosphere. Xiao Xiao quickly blended in. He sat excitedly on a chair in the stands with his legs stretched out. His fingers tapped on the beat continuously. His head seemed to sway bit by bit with the rhythm. The little black bun on his head couldn't help but dance. There was a row of judges' seats on the side. The empty space in the middle should be where the contestants were competing. It was still an empty space. During the actual competition, there should be corresponding equipment. There was a small space on the right that was blocked off. There were 2 robots standing on it and pacing back and forth. More and more people gathered in the audience. Several contestants had arrived around Xiao Xiao. They greeted Xiao Xiao enthusiastically when they saw him. "You're the one dancing with the robots, right? So cool. I like it so much. Let me introduce myself. I'm Kong Ming. I'm also here for the competition." A young man with bushy eyebrows and big eyes took the initiative to greet Xiao Xiao. "Hello, I'm Xiao Xiao. You're so handsome. There are a lot of people online calling for you to join the entertainment industry." "That's just a joke. You can't take it seriously. This is my first time participating in this competition. I didn't expect the scale to be so big. I'm so excited." Kong Ming looked like a big boy who couldn't keep his thoughts to himself. However, Xiao Xiao liked it. This kind of straightforward boy was to his liking. What Xiao Xiao didn't notice was that there was a person sitting 2 rows behind him. He was wearing a baseball cap. At this time, his eyes were like poison. He was staring at the back of Xiao Xiao's head. This person was Hu Gang. Hu Gang was carefully observing Xiao Xiao's every move. He found that the demonic aura above Xiao Xiao's head was thick and dense. He didn't believe Yinran's words. This was clearly a person who was haunted by demons. How could he be a cultivator like them? Yinran had been deceived. Maybe he hadn't shown it yet, but in the future, he would definitely be an evil person. Hu Gang didn't notice that his originally kind heart would inadvertently have some evil thoughts at this time. And once these thoughts were born, they were hard to extinguish. Soon the opening ceremony began. It was different from the usual opening ceremonies. The first to enter was actually a row of robots. A group of tall and mighty robots gathered in the center from the 4 corners of the arena. They stepped on the drums of the music. Every step was sonorous and neat. The audience at the scene was boiling. They all stood up and waved to the group of robots below with the dynamic music. Soon, they gathered in the center of the arena. They formed a square formation and began to dance quickly. Robot dance steps. Every movement stepped on the drums. The program was good. It saved the coordination of manual rehearsals. All the robots were executing the same program, so there was no deviation at all. Although the dance steps weren't complicated, the rhythm was very strong. The combination of the music and program was also automatically controlled by the computer. Not only were the big drum beats accurate, even the small beats were accurate. At the same time, because of the characteristics of the robots, every movement was sonorous and powerful. They weren't like the softness of a human body. They were completely a manifestation of a kind of steel strength. Instead, the audience at the scene felt the kind of cold and hard beauty that could only be seen in sci-fi movies. With a standard swing, the whole team was fixed in place. The scene was filled with excited cheers. At this time, Xiao Xiao and Kong Ming both began to dance with the movements of the robots. Kong Ming obviously didn't know how to dance, but he wasn't shy at all. He fully demonstrated the twisting of his body. Xiao Xiao looked at him and laughed loudly. Xiao Xiao's casual movements attracted the eyes of the people around him. He could hear some girls around him blushing and whispering, "The person dancing in front is so handsome." You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.